All right. I believe we are live. The button has been hit. What is going on, everybody? This is Rand Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast episode. And with me, as always, is the one, the only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, pal. Sorry, coughing there straight away. Professional podcasting. Yes. Not bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing. I mean, how's cause you had another doctor's appointment today. You doing good?
Yeah, apparently there's nothing wrong with me.
Hmm.
So says all the tests, a blood test done, and they say the gallstones aren't big enough to be causing any of my symptoms, and blood's fine, liver, kidneys, everything's fine. So apparently I'm imagining that I'm ill. Yeah. Nah, he wants me to go on this. They call it low FODMAPs diet, which means I can't eat any bread and all these other foods that are nice. And I got to do that for a few weeks and see if it improves things. But I don't know. I'm just tired of it at this point. But let's not talk about health, Rand, because it's depressing. Let's talk about video games. Those good old video games that never steer us wrong in the darker times.
We do actually have quite a bit to talk about this week, Jez, because it was somebody's anniversary.
It was? Whose anniversary was it, Rand? Actually, it was two people's anniversary, technically.
Two people's?
Well, it's Halos.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Xbox.
Halos and Xboxes. So, I mean, looking at the topic list here, we got a lot here to talk about, but I'm sure, as most people saw today, campaign previews for Halo went out. Not only did I play it, but so has Mr. Jez Corden. He has also played Halo Infinite's campaign, and, you know, I kind of want to pick his brain about it because we know how Jez feels about Halo. You know, it's yes, certainly his favorite series of all time, and he loves it so much, right? So, yeah, it's definitely, we're gonna go in depth on the Halo stuff, but there's a lot more here that we need to get to, and I want to give a shout out to Flame, who's been a member for 6 months, man. 6 months, that's a long time. He says, Rand, I hear if you say mayo in the bathroom mirror 3 times, the lights go out, and you can hear an English voice say, ooh, is this true? Yeah, that's usually how it works. They usually is how it works. Normally I would have like gameplay of Halo Infinite's campaign in the background. I had recorded a ton of stuff, but the embargo stuff was pretty strict on what you can and can't show, especially for live streaming. So I was kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to risk getting in trouble. So we have some classic Gears Hivebusters footage here. I'll have more campaign stuff, like probably when the game is actually... Plus, I didn't really want to spoil it for people. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see the Halo Infinite campaign until they actually play it, which is why I tried keeping my video today spoiler-free as possible. I didn't want to show... I only really wanted to show combat scenarios, and I didn't want to, like, show too many cutscenes and talk too much about the story. So, yeah. Artemis says, yo, Rand and Jez. Jez's famous G4 TV X-Play just referenced your article, Mr. Violence. Oh,
God.
You're on G4 TV now, Jez? What is this? Did you know about this?
No.
Uh-oh.
I got a feeling they weren't very nice about it.
You don't think so? I mean, come on. Anybody who knows you knows you're just a lovable dude. How could they...
Just a lovable dude, man. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I had no idea that happened, but as well, as long as I can provide content to people, I guess.
Trey Duke says, with Kyle Rittenhouse being found not guilty, do you think there's a chance Scalebound can make a comeback? Well, that's the interesting question after the beginning. Scalebound's actually a topic today, and we'll talk about later, but no, I don't think there's a chance Scalebound is coming back. Yaquin says, gentlemen, another week, another rundown on Rand's weekly reads. Also, thoughts on the show. I actually haven't read anything this week. You know, usually I got to be in a mood to read a book, and I've been in that mood a lot recently, but this past week, I haven't been in the mood to read, so I haven't read anything. But I did, Jez, I did watch all 3 episodes of the Wheel of Time last night.
Wheel of Time? What's that? Never heard of it.
You never heard of it. You know, it's that book series that I named my gamer tag and channel after the main character. You know, it's a series I started reading when I was 15, 16, and it's finally debuted on Amazon Prime Video. And I watched all 3 videos last night.
Long time ago.
Yeah, definitely was a long time ago. I watched all 3 episodes last night. First episode was definitely very fast. The pacing was all over the place because they have to introduce all these characters. So the first episode definitely wasn't the best, but I think as it went on, by episode 3, it was starting to kind of find its footing, and it started to get pretty good. There's definitely some major deviations from the book. Major deviations. But I'm okay with it because I'm one of those people that always accepts the book is the book, the show is the show, or the movie's the movie. There are things you can do in a book that you can't do in a show. So I understand that things were going to be changed, and I'm perfectly okay with, you know, the show being its own thing. So we'll see how the rest of the season progresses. Nomad says, are you too surprised at all that Phil confirmed exclusivity for Elder Scrolls 6? We all knew it was exclusive, but why confirm it now? Seemed random.
He was just he was responding to an interview question. Somebody asked him, and Phil replied. Wasn't it in the Axios interviews? It was an interview question. Phil just didn't randomly confirm it. They asked him to confirm it, basically. So, but the you know, websites, you know, frame it differently in the headlines, I guess. But yeah, Phil was just being upfront and honest, you know, confirming that what we all of us here already knew, that you don't spend that kind of money to make the game, you know, available on every console platform, especially when you've got a subscription service which can be accessed on any device, and especially when that is your key performance indicator now as well. So yeah, it was just responding to an interview question, but it's kind of nice, Rand, to put the debate to bed, I guess, in a way.
It is. And Nathaniel says, patiently waiting for Activision's fall. Yeah, that's definitely a topic. I know. Jez is a huge fanboy of Bobby Kotick and Activision, so I'd be interested to get more of your thoughts on this matter. Hasn't this been ongoing for months now? This whole Activision Blizzard nonsense. I mean,
yeah, it started off at the end of the summer. It's it's pretty crazy, really.
It is.
We'll talk about it.
Blue Alt says, "Hey guys, hope you got my comment on your Battlefield Good Company achievement. Thanks for all your fellers do. Jez, have you ever tried Kardashians and mayo? Oh geez, Kardashians and mayo, the two things that should never go together. But yeah, before we get into everything,
sorry, what?
He just wants to know if you've ever tried Kardashians and mayo at the same time, presumably.
I don't know. That might be too much. Too much for my arteries, man. That's too much. Too much, man.
Right. But before we get into everything, once
grease.
again, the Xbox 2 podcast is powered and sponsored by Manscaped. And I guess this is my turn to do the intro. So, ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped has the gift that keeps on trimming. You like that? Trimming? Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers. And that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use code XB2 for 20% off and free shipping. There you go. How's that, Jez? Did I do good? Did I do okay? Is it as epic as as your reads on that? Come on.
I don't know. It's pretty good. I give it a solid 7, maybe 8 out of 10.
I'll try to do better. I'll try to do better next time.
You could try a British accent next time.
Oh no, definitely not. They'll be upset if I do a British accent. I can't really. I can do. Hey mate. You get that Manscaped, mate? I don't know. It's not really, it's not really a good one.
No, you can't do it.
No,
You straight up can't do it.
No,
Like,
I can't.
You could watch some like YouTube videos. I swear it's cheating for me, man, because in Britain we grow up on American TV. You can't escape it. American music, American TV. So like my brother literally has an American accent because he suffers from autism, and he grew up on Barney the Dinosaur. Barney the Dinosaur was the only TV show we could use to engage him. So now my brother, who's full-blooded British, has an American accent. Now he's in his 30s and he's overcome most of his mannerisms, should we say? But he has an American accent because of your TV. So I think everyone in Britain is capable of some level of American accent. I think.
Yeah.
The easy way, one easy way to do it, Rand, is say British without the T. Can you do that? British.
British.
No T. No. You even put the T in there again.
British.
British.
I said it right. In it. Something like that. I don't know.
No, stop.
Yeah. I'm butchering the Queen's English. Unsettled Madness says Phil's an absolute Chad for calling out Activision Blizzard on the mess they got going on. Yeah, Phil doesn't.
He's a based Chad lord.
I did see some tweets. It was like Phil's the based executive that we need, or whatever, like that.
Based Chad lord. Maximum Chad.
Stodgy Caesar says anyone still asking about Scalebound must be trolling. Probably, I would hope so. Blue All says I just ordered my Manscaped package using code XB2. There you go, man. Yeah. There you go. Hope you enjoy it. Nice. Hope your girlfriend or boyfriend enjoys it as well. So yeah, people are saying they like your American version better. That's what the Pong Soul says in chat. I see we got James Shields in here. Love everybody showing up for the show. Matt Burns, X Bone Reviews, Polish Kraken Flame, all the channel members, Gunstar. I see everybody here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hustle and motivate. What's going on, brother? Hope you're well. Hope everyone's having a great start to the weekend. I love doing the show on Fridays. Love it. So much better than doing it on Saturdays. And I don't have to step on Game On Dailies. And I'm doing Game On Dailies show tomorrow with Gaz and Colt and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. Because I wasn't sure. Because I think we mentioned last week we might do the show a little bit hour later than normal. But you were all good to go. So we're here on Friday. And this is when I like to do the show. Thaneros says, I know you guys can't fully talk about Halo yet. But can you at least say if you see any characters from previous games?
I don't think we can. Actually.
Well, I haven't seen any. Well, in the four, like we can talk about the first 4 levels in the open world that we played, and I will say in those,
not the opening
cutscene. So I can't talk about the opening cutscene. I can talk about the first 4 levels. I will say, to my recollection, there was nobody from previous games in the first 4 levels.
Yes.
But I mean, that's like the first 4 hours. So, but oh man, what a first, like Jez. Well, I know we're going to get into it a little bit later on, but how incredibly strong was those first 4 levels for Halo Infinite?
It's a strong opening, man. Like you said earlier, I'm not a big Halo guy, but I couldn't put it down. In fact, I couldn't put it down so hard that I went past the 4 slotted levels and went straight through to the end.
Yes, Jez has actually beaten the campaign because the preview build is essentially the full game. So he's beaten it. But yeah, I was watching other people's previews. Jeff Grubb called it like Halo's Breath of the Wild moment. Jeff Gertzman, he called it thrilling. It seemed like the vast majority of previews were like, yo, 343 might have actually nailed this. And like I said in my video, if the quality keeps up from the first 4 levels and continues throughout the rest of the campaign, like we're in for something truly special.
Yeah.
We'll get into greater detail in a little bit, but just wanted to say
I just want to add, by the way, don't super chat questions that have ask us to give Halo spoilers. We're not going to give any Halo spoilers on this show whatsoever. And if you super chat and you want to know Halo spoilers, can't give them, won't give them.
Yes.
We can't talk about anything past episode level 4 anyway. But you know, it's just for people who they want to go in blind, right? And that's completely fine. We're only going to talk about the very intro, the very start of the game that you guys will experience in you know, in terms that isn't going to ruin your experience. We're just gonna stay thoroughly on that. I'm not going to talk about anything past level 4 because obviously I have completed the game. I'm one of the few people that probably has completed the game outside of Microsoft. But I'm not talking about anything past level 4 because therein lies the embargo cutoff. Can't talk about the length of the game. Can't talk about anything like that. But there will be reviews. So obviously me and Rand will come back to give our final thoughts during the review period, which is close to launch. So
yes. Yeah. I mean, you guys got to also remember, this is Jez Corden we're talking about. This is the guy that's been riding the Halo is dead and Halo's a Lego game since we started this podcast how long ago? 4 years ago, 2017. We're approaching our 200th episode, and Jez has been on that train since day one. We've been doing this, and the fact that he couldn't put down the game and ended up beating it should tell you all we really know about how good the campaign is. If someone like Jez just no-lifes it when he didn't have to, should tell you all you need to know about how excellent the campaign is.
Yeah, I'm not even reviewing it for Windows Central. I'm Brendan Lowry, who's our Halo expert. He's doing the full review. So I one thing I will say, I couldn't put it down. I really couldn't put it down. I really just wanted to get through and play, and it's so easy to play. It's so fun to play that I did. I just burned through it, but yeah.
Yeah. Ghost World says, Rand, I've been listening and watching your content since your days on the Gamerscore Popcast with Stallion83 way back in 2011. Keep up the great work, guys. Man, that is a long time. That's 10 years. 10 years I've been podcasting in some sort, Jez. That was the podcast I used to do with my buddy Stallion83. He used to be #1 in the world for Gamerscore. My buddy Silva, my buddy Pigamus Prime, who still does the achievement grind. I know he's listening. This is the only podcast he listens to. Shout out to you, Pig. I think Pig is on his way to 3 million gamer score. I think he's like 2.5 million or 2.6 million. And he's still loving gamer score like I did, all those years ago. So yeah, I still have some fond memories of doing that podcast all the way back then. Polish Kraken says, please buy and support Dr. Squatch Halo Soap and get them to sponsor you guys. I've never heard of Dr. Squatch Halo Soap. Have you, Jez?
No, I have not. I have not. What even is that?
I don't even know. You're a Malice. Shout out to you, man. I always see you in the Reset Era and Xbox. I think the Xbox Era Discord, if I'm not mistaken. Highbusters, huh? Would you like Gears 6 to be more like Highbusters DLC? I think it could be a nice addition to Gears without deviating too much. Yes, I would very much like Gears 6 to be more in the vein of Hivebusters. I do think they sort of need to change up the formula a little bit, and Hivebusters did a really good job of that. So I would 100% be on board with that. Eagles fan says, can you predict that the game will score in the 90s? Can't really talk about my Metascore prediction. I think the game was going to score really well if the quality keeps up of, the levels I played. So, yeah. Sin Vendetta says, so Jez, Halo Infinite campaign, 10 out of 10, right? Eye emojis. You're going to have to wait.
Yeah. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait.
Yeah, he's not even doing the review for Windows Central, so... Gaz says, can you give me Halo spoilers? Is Master Chief a ghost? Gaz, come on. What are you doing here, buddy? We can't give you spoilers. We can't. But yes,
I think it's pretty fair to say that he's not a ghost. That's some I don't know, Sixth Sense kind of shit.
Yeah. And Gaz has become the newest member of the channel alongside Neon Black. Thank you guys for all the support. Enjoy the emotes. We love you both. We love all the channel members here. Well, we love everybody here, regardless of whether you're typing up a storm in the chat or you're just sitting back lurking or you're listening later on. on podcast services. All me and Jez really want is for people to enjoy the show and enjoy it at their own leisure. So we appreciate everybody for being here. Yeah, so if you guys could do us a favor, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and share this out on all the social media platforms, because YouTube does a terrible job sometimes of notifying people. Like, I had to make sure to tell people in my video today, Jez, be like, please share this out, because for whatever reason, Microsoft has decided that their embargo times recently are midnight, like 2 a.m. Central, 3 a.m. Eastern, and it's like, yo, that's a horrible time to release videos. Nobody's up then. Like, my audience is asleep. You know what I mean?
I actually when I came to scheduling our preview, I'd scheduled it for midday UK time, thinking it was like midday, and then I looked at it again, and it was like, no, it's 12 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, wait, what? That's a really strange time, but
yeah,
whatever.
I mean, whatever. Whenever the embargo's up is when the embargo's up. But it's like, man, I wish it was more like 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. At least, like, people are starting to get up instead of, like, people are sleeping. Widia says, this Halo Infinite feature in the Keeleys 2022. I mean, Cyberpunk is in the Game of the Year nominees. I think it's nominated for Best RPG, I believe. Right?
Should be nominated for Game of the Year, I think. Now that's one spicy take I don't have the balls to write off.
Yeah, I mean, I know you did love Cyberpunk. You played it on PC.
I love it. I loved it at day one, man.
And there's definitely some people out there that are like, if you loved Cyberpunk, you must have been given a yellow chair. You know?
The yellow chair?
Yeah, the yellow chair. Like, the influencers got that yellow chair. That was like supposed to be like, if you got a yellow chair, your opinion on Cyberpunk is invalid. You know what I mean? That type of stuff.
You know what? I actually do have a chair from that company. I'm using it right now, actually.
Ooh. Who's the company? One. Secret Labs?
Secret Lab, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like their chair? I have the Maxnomic chair, the Xbox Maxnomic chair. And at first, I didn't really like it, but I've actually grown into it, and I do care for it, or I do like it a lot. Although for my next chair, I probably will get a Secret Labs. They're expensive though, bro.
They are expensive, and I will say about Secret Lab, like, since I've lost weight, I actually find them less comfortable since I've lost weight. So I had to buy like a lumbar pillow for it. But generally, yeah, quality is really great. They last a long time. I've had them for years, like, so. Ooh. But I didn't get the yellow one, so my opinion on Cyberpunk is completely valid. Yes. I did get a Warcraft one from them though. But I shit on Warcraft 24/7, so it turns out that the chairs don't actually affect your opinion of games as much as people might like to think. I don't know.
Flame says, does Chief kiss the weapon, Jez? Does Chief have a relationship with the new AI?
I can't. I'm not at liberty to describe any such things at the moment.
And look who's lurking. Gaming Forte. He's lurking while at GameStop selling Pokemon to people. Wow.
What a hero.
What a horrible person selling Pokemon.
Now that is Game of the Year right there.
What is the new Pokemon game? Pokemon Pearl? Pokemon shit or something?
Pokemon Pearl and Pokemon Diamond, you Philistine.
Wait, aren't those older Pokemon games? I could have sworn.
They're remakes, man. They're remakes.
Oh, they're remakes. Okay.
And they're full remakes, not like the Grand Theft Auto or whatever that is.
Yeah, the Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Full-blown remakes with 3D graphics and all that lovely stuff. But yeah, I've been playing that this week, today, all day actually. Been playing Pokemon Pearl. So if anyone with Pokemon Diamond wants to trade some Pokemons, hit me up.
Slow-mo says Stormlight Archives is greater than the Wheel of Time. I mean, I haven't read Stormlight Archives Slow-mo. I actually own all the books because I will be reading it soon. But man, the way the Wheel of Time ended, I mean, it ended so strong. I don't know if have you finished the Wheel of Time Slow-mo? Because I mean, I don't know how you could say Stormlight Archives is better. It's 4 books out of a planned 10. It's not even, the series ain't going to be finished for another 15 years. I don't see how 4 books could eclipse 15, but we'll see. Josh Tarpley said, Rand, funny moment on the Spawncast last week when someone asked you if you were playing Halo. That is true. So last week, I was invited on Spawncast. Like RGT was there, and Dreamcast guy, and Nate the Hate, who originally put out the leak that Halo's multiplayer was going to come out on Monday. Remember, Jez? We talked about it. He's on the show, and someone, I think Zabit, who actually just sent us a super chat now, he asked, hey, Rand, are you playing Halo Infinite like Paris is? And, like, I had read the embargo notes, and it was just like, you can't talk about it. So I was just like, no. I was like, no, I'm not playing Halo Infinite. I had to lie because I couldn't say yes. And then I was like, then I said something like, if I had Halo Infinite right now, do you really think I'd be on the Spawncast doing this show instead of playing the game? I was trying to throw people off the scent, but because I try to respect the embargoes. Like, I'm very fortunate that Xbox lets me review these games and they let me into these previews to play stuff. And like, I don't want to it's like you agree to these things when they send them to you. So it's like, if they say don't mention it, that you're playing it until, the embargo lifts, and I'm not going to, but people knew. So some people just can't. They have to tease on social media that they're playing something. Wink, wink. They want to feel special. And then it's I'm just not going to do that. I don't really tweet that much, anyways. But there was definitely some people that made it. They didn't come right out and say they're playing Halo Infinite's campaign, but reading between the lines, you could definitely tell. They were like, I'm playing Halo Infinite. You know what I mean?
I didn't see much of that. I did my preview really quick. I burned through the first 4 levels and then wrote the preview the same weekend. So, and then I went off and completed the game as well because we had about a week, right?
Yeah, we've had the game since Friday last week. So,
oh wow, yeah. Okay, so I finished my preview by Sunday, so it didn't. I didn't really give it much breathing space at all. I just was like, "Yep, done, now written."
Oh,
now
man.
on to the next job.
Yeah,
which is, I don't know what the next job is. Black Friday. Oh, joy.
Yeah. Zabit says if anyone wants Colt's Halo preview, I downloaded it before he took it down. I'll post it on eBay. Yeah, Colt's video was really good. So
post it as an NFT.
Post it as the NFT. The best spot, the one and only Kid Smooth says, Sup Rand and Jez, loving the show. So happy to see Halo Infinite campaign. Halo and Forza has absorbed all my gaming this month. Yeah, it has, bro. And I remember people questioning Xbox this year, right? Their 2021, how bad it was going to be, but it ended up being maybe one of their best years ever. I mean, Psychonauts 2, Game of the Year candidate. Deathloop, Game of the Year candidate. Flight Sim, reviewed very well. Age of Empires 4, reviewed quite well on the PC, and I think that's coming to Xbox next year. Forza Horizon, I mean, should have been a Game of the Year candidate, and we'll get into that because Jez wrote a scathing article about the Game Awards. 10 million players in a week. Those are reserved. That's reserved for Call of Duty. You only really hear about Call of Duty doing 10 million in a week. Forza's doing it, and now Halo Infinite. Everybody's loving the multiplayer except for the Battle Pass progression. And now all these previews are out for Halo Infinite, and people are super pumped about it. They think it's really good. It's wow, Xbox did that 180. It took some time, but here we are, and it's pretty damn good to see, isn't it? Isn't it, everybody? Isn't it, Kid Smooth? Isn't it great to see? I mean, I think it's totally awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Neon Black says, I've been a lurker for more than a year now. Usually don't catch it live. Great to finally join the channel and show my support. Well, thank you for look, if you're lurking and you like to lurk and you don't like to chat with people, that's perfectly fine. But, we got a pretty welcoming community here for the most part if you don't want to do and I would say outside of people that want to come in here and do the console war, people don't react well to that, but say hi, and I'm sure there'll be either myself or Jez will welcome you, and the great mods and the channel members here will do the same. I mean, it's as Jez says, he loves the community that we've built on the Xbox too. So, but I understand. I lurk a lot for a lot of different shows. Sometimes you just want to chill and you don't want to interact. Frizzin says, Jez, are you able to say how long it took to get through the campaign? And I think Jez already said, nope, can't talk about that.
Sorry, man.
Can't talk about that at all.
Joaquin
we'll talk
says, about it in the full review, though.
Yes.
Sure.
Gents, so apparently Embracer is looking to acquire 32 more studios next year. What is the end goal here, and should Xbox play defense? Yeah, did you see that, Jez? 32 more
32?
studios. Yeah.
I have no idea what their play is. Like, is it cloud? Is it
Subscription service? It has to be, right?
It has to be a subscription service, but I don't know. This is wild. Right now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but maybe it will. Maybe it will soon. Maybe they'll just be like, yeah, we'll sell the whole lot of this to Amazon, and you'll instantly have a huge gaming stable for Amazon Luna or something. There's got to be some kind of end goal in mind. They can't just be buying studios for the sake of it, but I don't know.
I mean, Xbox is also very specific with their targets. Honestly, I don't think anybody that Embracer is looking at Xbox would really covet. Although I think Xbox did want Gearbox if they could get rid of Randy Pitchford, but that wasn't really going to happen. So
yeah,
most of the studios that Embracer acquires are kind of, they're not on Xbox's radar. I would think, unless all of a sudden they're going to change and start buying the Bungies and the Warner Brothers and all these other companies that maybe Microsoft is looking at. So,
there Rand goes again with his predictions, not predictions.
Oh yeah, you called me you called me clairvoyant on Twitter.
Clairvoyant, it's a good word. I like that word. I don't get to use it often.
Why do you think I was clairvoyant?
Well,
what did I do?
Well, wasn't it you who first suggested that it could be launching, your quote unquote prediction that they would shadow drop it? I don't know.
Well,
that seemed pretty clairvoyant to me, pal.
When did I tell you? How long ago did I tell you that I was hearing that Halo's Infinite? That was like mid-October, right?
Yeah, it's about a month ago.
I was like, Jez, Jez, I'm hearing that the Halo Infinite's campaign is going to drop on the anniversary, and Jez was like, with the kind of thinking emoji, and it's like, yeah, I hear a lot of stuff. This one really came from some good sources. I know, Jez, you had your own sources that were telling you that, that it seemed like it was going to be true, right?
Yeah, I spoke to some sources and they're a bit coy about it, and I just thought, well, if they'd reacted in another way, it probably wouldn't be true. But nah,
yeah, but
Rand knew.
No. See, the thing is, I don't know for sure about anything really. It was just like, I mean, how could I, And so it's just like, that's why I would tease some of the stuff here. I don't come outright and say it. I know Kid Smooth and Forte and a lot of guys I talk to in parties, they tell me, they say I have a tell that I do something specific, and something I do, the way I say something or how I say it or something, that there's a tell I do when I'm actually giving a prediction that I don't know, and when I'm giving a quote unquote prediction of something that I do know or I've heard about. And they say there's a tell, and that they can always, see what it is. And I've asked them, what is the tell? Like, tell me. And they're like, nope. And I'm like, even if you did tell me, I wouldn't be able to change it. It's kind of a subconscious thing. But apparently, if you've been listening to me long enough, I guess there's a certain way I say something that, I don't know. I don't. It's now I'm thinking about it, and I gotta change. I gotta change it up, Jez.
Interesting.
So Joe Lilly says, having a really bad week, boys, and that British accent still made me laugh. Always love listening to you two talk shit. Shite. He says shite. Thank you. Well, I hope your week gets better, and we're glad that you are here, Joe. Appreciate you very much. Dio Game says, how should Starfield avoid the Forza fate to TGAs? Now that's interesting, Jez. Because Forza came out on the 9th, had early access on the 5th. I had a review code a week before, so like October 29th or whatever. I did have the preview even a month before that. Now, Starfield's releasing on 11/11. Presumably, the nominations are going to be similar to next year, where it's like, hey, the game has to be out by this certain time. Is Starfield going to run into the same fate as Forza potentially, where not enough people actually get to play through all of Starfield before putting in their nominations? So could we see Starfield miss out on potential nominations because they didn't get the game in time and they didn't have enough time to play through it? Is that something that could happen?
Well, should we just get into the topic of the Game Awards?
Yeah.
Since someone asked. Well, it's funny because I wrote that article about the Game Awards and Forza and whatever, and I sort of like, I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really think about it too much. I just ranted into the article and then hit publish. I didn't even send it to an editor first, which is what I should have done, which is what our rules are. But I broke the rules because I was, just ranting off about it and sent it off to die, basically. and then it's funny because I ruffled some feathers because I suggested that. Yeah, I did. I kind of suggested that the reason Forza wasn't nominated was because it didn't fit specific criteria that game journalists look for when determining what deserves Game of the Year. And my feeling on this, which is, I've shared it with you guys on the show, is that game journalists give I'd say an unfair sort of advantage to games that are cinematic action games. And, it's not just Game Awards either. It's like review scores too. Like if a game doesn't have like a specific type of narrative, like it won't even score well on Metacritic and stuff. So I sort of like I basically put that into an article saying that it's been snubbed because it's a racing game, and why I think that's unfair. And it's because games are more than movies, and if a game is technically brilliant like Forza is, and it nails on all of its promises as a game, then it should be at least nominated. And that's not to say the games that were nominated didn't deserve it necessarily, although I would have chosen Forza over some of them. But I just kind of felt that way about it, But then I got some emails from a few people who are on the jury panel. Now, the jury panel is the Game Awards sort of, I don't know what you call it. It's like 100, it's over 100 outlets. I think it's 103 to be exact. 103 outlets, YouTubers and press. And they vote, their outlets collectively vote on which game they want to nominate for Game of the Year. Or they pick a few games or whatever. And I got sent some emails that the Game Awards send out to people, so I can back myself up. I like my documents, Rand.
Yeah, we know you like your documents. We know that.
So yeah, I got to look at some of the emails the Game Awards send out to the jury to get an inkling of how the process works. Then nobody in the Game Awards is necessarily under NDA, but they are asked not to share things, I guess. But anyway, I digress. So, in essence, I was sort of like, I was going through all this information, and the jury were basically saying to me, we didn't have enough time with Forza. We couldn't give it a fair shake because our nominations had to be in on the 4th. And obviously, Forza Early Access didn't start until the 5th. So I added that as an update that some jury members have reached out to me and said the reason Forza wasn't nominated was because we didn't have enough time with it. And, which kind of contradicted what Jeff Keighley said on Twitter when he replied to someone in the community who asked him, was Forza eligible? And he said, yes, Forza's eligible. Look, it's been nominated for these other awards. But my sources were saying that they felt they didn't have enough time with the game, and also they weren't aware that you could change your nomination up to the 11th. Because that information was sort of like in a footnote or in a separate email or something. It wasn't common knowledge to them that they could change their nomination after they'd had some time with Forza. So for me, that's sort of like, it called into question some of the things that I wrote, my opinions that it wasn't given a fair shake because of the fact it was a racing game. But some jury members were coming back to me and saying, that's not true. We just didn't have enough time with it. But then someone from the Game Awards messaged me and said the people on the jury had access for a whole month before the nominations were due to be in. So now I'm just sitting there like, I wish I just never got involved in this. I had no idea that this was going to blow up like it did, and I didn't want to piss anyone off. Essentially, I was just basically turning what I said last week in the podcast into an article, and then just I didn't expect anyone to read that or hold any interest, but
well,
with great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, apparently. And sometimes I forget how big Windows Central's platform actually is.
I'm surprised Windows Central's not a part of the Game Awards. You guys review a bunch of stuff, so
I honestly, I don't think Windows Central. I would not be confident in Windows Central being part of the jury, or at least myself being part of the jury, because I don't get to play that many games in the year.
That's true.
I've barely played Forza, to be fair. I've played it enough now to know that it should have been nominated. But by like the 11th, there's no way I would have played Forza enough to think it was Game of the Year material. Personally, I would have been deferring probably. But that's the thing. Windows Central's team is very small. We only focus on Xbox games because that's where our SEO growth is and whatever. We don't have a big enough platform that I think to really give an informed opinion. We can contribute maybe, but I don't know. I really don't play that many games out of the year because I just don't have time. I'm more of a tech blog anyway. But I do think one of the things I wrote in the article was game developers should be on the panel.
Yes.
Because game developers make the games. And like maybe it'd be a bit weird if a game developer was potentially voting for their own games, but like you could have game developers who'd moved into other fields. You could have game developers who weren't necessarily involved with game development directly anymore. It'd be weird if like an EA developer or someone who's currently working on Battlefield, if they were on the panel, that might be a bit weird. But then again, Hideo Kojima is listed as a Game Awards founder on the website, and yet Death Stranding won a whole bunch of awards one year. So I don't know. Someone suggested to me that I'd taken the whole Game Awards thing too seriously, and that like all award shows are like this, where there are like politics and timing. Politics and timing can affect your chances of getting an award and stuff. And all award shows are like this. Like the Oscars are apparently like this, the Game Awards are like this. But I don't watch the Oscars, and I don't know about the Golden Globes or whatever they're called. I just sort of like that article is partially inspired by a game dev who I was speaking to, who's like, what can we possibly do to get Forza considered in the running for Game of the Year? Like we've perfected, in our view, I'm paraphrasing as well, but he's perfected what, the open world racing genre to as far as they can. And then they're thinking like, well, what the hell more do we need to do to even be considered for a nomination? And then you look back and think, well, maybe it was the timing, as some jury members were suggesting to me. But like, I don't know. It just feels wrong to me to summarize it.
I have something to add to this conversation, but I need to get to these super chats before they disappear, Jez. So
yeah,
I do have an interesting take on this. Flame says, I'll take as a yes, Jez. I need a weapon. Wink. Hargit says Halo co-op is now delayed as expected to at least mid-year 2022, bearing any more important things need to be done. Is it possible? I think likely that co-op is dropped together. No, I don't think it's going to be dropped together. Joseph Staten just had an interview where he talked about it's like fully playable at 343. So I just think they were kind of crunching. Well, maybe crunching is the wrong word, but they were all hands on deck to get this game launched, multiplayer, the campaign, and co-op is one of those things that was just like perhaps ray tracing and Forge mode were just things they could focus on later. And now that, season 1 has been extended, co-op's coming a little bit later. They promised that it would be there, so I think it 100% will come at some point. Right, Jez? You don't think they're going to drop co-op altogether, right?
No, they're not going to drop co-op.
Yeah.
They've got some kind of service ambition for this game. Like they want it to be a game that you come back and play with your friends over and over and stuff. They're definitely not going to drop co-op. I would like I'll throw that out there and put my reputation on the line. They're definitely not going to drop co-op.
It'd be interesting to see how the game plays in co-op, because I can't admit, and I think, because I've said this to a few people, I think 4-player co-op wouldn't work in this Halo. But then they were telling me that, they already announced that it's 2-player co-op. Which I can see working, but 4-player co-op, I'm not sure. Because you can go, in the beginning, it's you're kind of locked on the island. But it'd be weird if someone was doing the keep, somebody was doing an optional like high value target, somebody was rescuing a Spartan, and then somebody was actually doing the main mission. Right? That'd be kind of awkward. So I wonder if they'll keep it to 2. Anyways, the one and only Tim Dog is here. My buddy, he says, saw your video, Rand, and was super happy to hear how excited you were. You were down on Halo 4 and 5, so it's nice to see. I definitely was down on Halo 5. I did not like that campaign. Halo 4. Well, Halo 4's got a really good story. Halo 5 I just did not enjoy. Red 13 wants to know if I started watching Wheel of Time. Yes, we talked about that in the beginning of the show. I watched the first 3 episodes. Like what I've seen so far. There are some major changes. I'm sure some fans are upset, but I can always, I understand things need to be changed for show. Victor wants to know, say, Jez, were you teasing Power Rangers? Power Rangers?
I think he means because I said there was one thing I was really looking forward to from the show. A bunch of people asked me what I'd been teasing. The thing I was looking forward to was Max Payne. I'm a huge Max Payne fan, and the fact that they brought the entire franchise to Xbox, modern consoles was the last backwards compatible franchise I really, really wanted. I wanted Fear as well, but I wanted Max Payne even more, and I'm really glad they brought it. That was the last thing I wanted out of that.
Yeah.
And I got it.
Tim Dog, my buddy, left a super chat and says, hearing Xbox is doing amazing on all accounts, but biggest issue is supply and no relief in sight. Yeah, imagine what Xbox would be doing if you could easily get a Series X. I know you can pretty easily get a Series S, but those Series X's are still really hard to come by. Sony's having issues. Even like Nintendo's having some small issues with the OLED. I mean, Steam Deck was delayed to next year. There's talk that like the semiconductor shortage won't will still be a thing next year. Yeah, like issue is going to be a problem. And it's like the demand is totally there. Like the demand is there unlike I've seen in a long time. Like people are behind Xbox. They love what they're doing. Game Pass is killing it. Forza's doing insane numbers. Like nobody, if we had predicted this, Jez, I would never even come close to 10 million in a week. I would have said maybe 5 or 6 million. But then it did another 4 million beyond that. And then who knows what Halo's doing? Day one on Steam, in a surprise announcement, it hit like 270,000 concurrent players, right? Yeah. That is essentially like the third highest free-to-play launch ever on Steam, right? Oh, I know the numbers have kind of gone down every day since, but I think the weekend will be a lot. People are going to get on and play a lot this weekend, especially with some of the Battle Pass changes and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's just unfortunate they're not able to get those Series X's in store shelves.
Yeah, it's wild. Like I'm completely hooked on Halo's multiplayer, but man, it makes me so salty compared to like some other games that I play. Like when I play Call of Duty, I'm just like, whatever if I die. But in this, I'm like raging and stuff. I think it's like really apparent in Halo when you get outplayed versus Call of Duty where you die usually because someone spawned behind you or something like that.
Yeah. Tom Legg says, you can tell the process is messed up when anything released before the 19th is eligible, but the nominees were announced on the 17th. Kind of crap. Yeah. So when you have a game released like later in November, you're kind of like screwed. Like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order ran into that problem last year, where like not enough people had played it and it was just right on that deadline and it couldn't get in. And then I don't think it was nominated for anything this year, and it was just kind of fell by the wayside. It sucks.
It bugs me because it's like Jeff wants the game industry to work around his nomination timings, which is just, I think, kind of messed up. I mean, people do that there are aspects of that with the Oscars. Like to win an Oscar, they know, like, they kind of know some things what they have to do with regards to timing and things like that. And there are ways they can game it. And like one of the sources on the jury who spoke to me said that some game publishers' marketing departments have become sort of savvy to the way it all works. And if they value the Game Awards and what marketing it can potentially bring to the brand, they try and like work with the game publisher to sort of get the release timing to be in a good place and make sure everyone on the team has access to the game and stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, it just reminds me of the Oscars where they try and game it and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe these kind of shows just aren't ever going to be fair, and like maybe it was stupid of me to even assume that they could be fair or that they should even be fair. I don't know. It's ultimately, I just really do wish that I just never got involved, because everyone got really, really mad.
You know, Sony never releases any of their games around November. I think they value the Game Awards, so a lot of their game, and like that's the thing. Like, you knew Horizon wasn't coming out in September, or wasn't coming out at all. Like, they're not going to release their games during that October, November, December period, because it would be overlooked for the Game Awards or whatever. So Faisal says one of the channels voted from the jury. One of the channels voted from the jury from the Middle East have never played any of the voted games. Who select those jury, and what is the criteria? I think Jeff Keighley selects the jury. I don't know what the criteria is. Maybe it's on their website, but I don't know what the criteria is.
Yeah, I have no idea how they pick or whatever. But like, it's hard, man. Like, I really do want to, like, you know, think about the fact that I do appreciate what Jeff's trying to do, and that no system's probably going to be perfect and no system's going to be without flaws. I do think it's worth putting that out there, that, you know, he's not trying to do something that's, you know, subversive or mean or whatever. And I don't condone anyone who's attacking him on Twitter. I think that's completely out of order as well. But, you know, that being said, I do think it can be improved, like very obviously, definitely improved, especially when it comes to when you're picking the nominations, if they have access or not, if the people who are doing the nominations have even played the games, as like someone in chat just suggested. You know, it's I don't know. Does he want a fair awards? Does it even matter? I don't know. Is it just a business at the end of the day, and that none of it actually matters?
It's a marketing event.
Are we all overthink?
It's like you said. It's like you said in your article. It's a marketing event, because what is everybody looking forward to? They're not really looking forward to who's winning in the Game Awards. Everybody's looking forward to new reveals. What trailers are gonna be at the show? Are we gonna see Hellblade 2 and Avowed? What is Sony gonna show? Like, what are the true next gen games? Because everything that Jeff teases on Twitter is about, the future of gaming is so bright. Look at these things that I've seen. It's about, the hype is about new reveals of new games that we're yet to see. The hype's not about who wins the awards, because let's be honest, most of the time, and this isn't. I like Jeff Keighley a lot. Let me get that right out of the front. Like, I like what he does. I like the Game Awards. It's just that the way the show is structured, you can tell it's not really about the Game Awards overall. Like, the main focus of the show is the exclusive world premiere exclusive, right? Like, that sort of stuff. Like, that is the main focus of the show. Because
exclusive.
Because because they've given away awards during commercial breaks. They've given away 3 awards at once where the people who won don't even get to, like, say anything. So the awards are just secondary. What it really is all about is the marketing. To have Xbox, PlayStation, Activision, Ubisoft, all these other developers showcase their new wares to get people really excited. That's what it's about. And that's coming from somebody who actually really likes what Jeff Keighley is doing. Dave Ramos says, strong element of this is BS, and it's part emotional. Best game on Metacritic, universal praise, and no nod. Hard to understand, looking to place blame. Yeah. Kay Asante says, salute to the dynamic duo of gaming discourse. Jez, you're putting a voice to frustrations many of us have. It's not just Forza, it's the whole system. Yeah, see?
Yeah, it really is the whole system. Like when you step back and look away from the Game Awards, the whole system of game criticism is flawed. Like, and to be fair to games journalists are never given enough time to really truly properly assess a game. They're given a week. Some of these games have 100 hours, and I know from speaking from my own experience, sometimes I have to be doing other things while also reviewing that game, because I'm not paid to play 100 hours worth of game. I'm paid for the article at the end of it. So like I have to be lucky sometimes, and like if the embargoes and stuff line up with a weekend, then that's great because it means I can play all weekend. But then great, I don't have a weekend anymore. And yeah, it's playing a game, but it's also playing a game for work. So you're like taking notes and analyzing it. It's a different experience when you're playing a game for review than you're playing a game for fun. And yeah, at the same time, it's still the easiest job in the world. It really is. And I'm not saying I'm not lucky to be a games writer or anything. It is the easiest job in the world. And I'm every day wake up feeling privileged to be in this position. But it's sort of like the games media has to sort of fight against the publisher to get access to the games, and nothing ever gets really criticized and scrutinized properly, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. And that seems to have extended to the Game Awards, if what my sources say is right, and that they didn't get full-blown access to the games, in advance that they felt they needed to. Then, it's that whole thing again of not having enough time to actually look at and review the games properly. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's why games journalism's the state it's in, and it's not seen as respectable as a movie critic or even a food critic. Like food critics are like worshipped and they're celebrities on TV and stuff. And I don't see a game critic being a celebrity ever,
Well, that's because video games are still seen as children's as a children's thing. Like movies are, like art, right? Art. Yeah. Video games is just for kids. Video games is for adults who are losers, essentially, unless you have a job in it. Like that's what most people think. Like, when my sister brings friends over or whatever, and they're like, my sister's very proud of what I've accomplished on YouTube. But, like, I can tell, like, when people ask her, like, your brother does YouTube, and they get really excited, and my sister will be like, yeah, but he talks about video games. And it's just like, you can just, like, it's not really, I don't know. It's just, I think people just, there's that misconception, or people just have this thought, and then if you're talking about video games in your 30s or your 40s, or maybe even your 20s, like you just never grew up and you're just a big loser. Whereas like you can review the Marvel movies, the artistic expression of Eternals, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's two totally separate things. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but like I definitely feel that people look down. Like if you're 40 and you're 30 and you meet a girl and you're on a date and she says, "What do you do for a hobby?" and you're like, "I play Xbox." She'd probably just walk right out right there. Like you don't know, you don't have your life in order if you're playing games at that point in time or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Lanzo says, the stinger is Forza was nominated for Best Racing Game this year, so it can't be nominated for Game of the Year next year. Forza Horizon 5 was shafted. Oh, you mean Forza Horizon 5 was nominated in the category that they specifically made for Forza Horizon so it can win? Because there's no other game that's going to win in that sports racing genre. It's like a category that was specifically made for Forza Horizon to win, so it couldn't be nominated for Game of the Year. It's really odd. Let's see what else we got here. Man, there's a lot here. Rubber Knob says, I've noticed this cutoff date on the 4th of November is also Sony's game's release cutoff. Dark Sia, who's been a member for a staggering 28 months, says, like the Festival de Cannes, all the juries are directors. GA need to judge. Be your father. Need game dev. Need game dev. How not competing. Come and embrace the moment. Chris R says, I wish Forza was coming earlier, but it sounds like it's so big that people can basically make custom campaigns. Hope it's worth the wait. I hope so too. Paul says, who would you want as a playable character in Halo Infinite? Like for multiplayer of the campaign, like I'm all chief all the time, bro. Like for the campaign, that's what I want. That's what, at least for the first 4 levels, that's what it's looking like. Jacqueline says, hypothetically, Activision has a fire sale and you guys are on Xbox. Do you buy any teams or or IP? Interesting question, Jez. Would you buy Activision Blizzard? If they're, because you see their stock price is tumbled by like 40%. Year over year, it's in a downfall. Yeah, if you're Xbox, you're PlayStation, do you buy Activision to get Call of Duty and the Blizzard properties, or like what would you do?
I mean, yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, man, you get quite a lot of great stuff there if you buy Blizzard.
But what if Bobby Kotick comes with it though?
No, you shoot him into space, mate. You send him up with Elon Musk and blast him to Mars. But nah, like, yeah, I mean, buy all of Activision Blizzard. You get like tons of great stuff. You get like loads of games that are sort of not being treated well right now because they're being underfunded and there's all sorts of turmoil and all that kind of stuff. They're losing devs left, right, and center because nobody wants to work for Kotick. You fixed all that by putting Phil in charge. So, you know, you could have World of Warcraft finding its feet again. You might even, like, I don't know, hell, put, you know, Warcraft 4 in development with World's Edge. And, man, there's a lot you could do there. There's a lot. It's kind of an exciting thing. But at the same time, it costs a hell of a lot of money because there's a hell of a lot of potential in those IPs, many of which are sort of dead and dying right now because of Activision's complete failed mismanagement and their inability to function properly as a company in 2021. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but will it ever happen? Probably not.
Yeah. Space Dovikin says, but then you have a game like Death Stranding that launches 11/8/19 and received around 10 nominations, but of course it was from Kojima. Sin Vendetta says, Rand Jez, honestly, you're celebrities to us. Oh man, me and Jez are big time celebrities. Oh man, how come I don't feel like a celebrity? I feel like I have imposter syndrome. It's like sometimes, and I, you know, you wake up and you're like, people actually listen to, like, I'm playing Halo Infinite early and people are looking forward to what I have to hear about it. Like, oh my god, I'm such an imposter. I know you've talked about having imposter syndrome sometimes.
Oh yeah, 24/7.
Like you're not qualified enough or whatever, right?
It's literally my state of being. Imposter syndrome is my state of being. You know, I dropped out of high school, worked minimum wage as a IT tech at a school, and now, you know, I'm here. It's you know, it's something you have to be grateful for. Constantly grateful for, because, you know, if you get arrogant, then bad things happen.
Yeah. Wolf of Darkness says, hello, Rand Jez. I have a question off topic. What happened to Konami? Is the company dying? Do you think it's a good idea if Microsoft acquired them? Thank you, Rand. Great articles, Jez. Phil Spencer is awesome. What happened to Konami? Well,
Konami is going to be the subject of an entire documentary, probably.
Yeah. I think they decided they could, like, the video games that they make weren't making enough money, so they sort of stopped making them, and they pivoted towards pachinko, right? Like gambling machines. And they actually make a ton of money doing that. So I don't really think the company's dying. It's just that they sort of changed how they do business. But it looks like they want to get back into gaming a little bit. Do I think it's a good idea if Microsoft acquired them? Probably not, because all that Konami really has is IP. They don't even really have any developers, because they shut a lot of that stuff down. So I don't really think it'd be a good idea if they acquired them, personally. Because even though people talk about Silent Hill's not that big of an IP. Metal Gear is awesome, but only if Metal Gear's done by Kojima, right? So in Castlevania, I love Castlevania, but Castlevania hasn't been big in a long time. So I know those franchises are huge with core gamers, but you would need really good developers to make them. And if you bought Konami, you don't really get any of that. So I don't think they're worth it, personally.
No. I don't think Konami's worth buying for those reasons too. you have to remember that like a lot of the work that Konami is doing right now is basically just trying to squeeze juice out of IP before
Mm-hmm.
they're completely totally forgotten. I don't like stuff like, putting Pyramid Head and Dead by Daylight and stuff like that. They have no intentions of being a big gaming company ever again. They're just gonna prostitute out, Castlevania to Netflix and stuff like that on the basis of squeezing a little bit of juice out of that, that lemon,
Prostitute.
water.
I like that. They prostituted themselves. I like that. That's a
Yeah,
good
they
word.
do.
That's a
Yeah,
good word,
they do.
Jez. I like that.
It's what they do, man. It's what they do. It's Konami in a nutshell. And it sucks for us because as cool gamers, we like our Silent Hills, we like our Castlevanias, and we like our Metal Gear Solids. But alas, those IPs are pretty much dead. I
Yeah,
don't think you can. I think it's fair to just expect that those games will never be a big deal ever again. I don't think.
probably not. The Glitch Doctor, who's been a member for 14 months, man, that's quite a long time, says, I am trying to get into a new relationship, and the stigma around gaming is a real issue. Every time I mention gaming, I never hear from the girl again. I feel you, man. I'm sorry. You'll eventually find the one who maybe you just need to find a girl gamer. I guess one who's actually.
You have to think of it this way, right? It could on the one hand you can think of it like, oh wow, like no girls like me because I like games, but you could also think of it this way: it's a great filter. If a girl judges you on the basis of you whether or not you like a game, she probably wasn't worth knowing anyway, mate.
Yo, bro,
Like,
are we starting like the Xbox 2 dating advice now? Is this what we're gonna tune into the Xbox 2 to hear some dating advice from a couple gamers?
Well, I went through this with my girlfriend, right? When I first got to know my girlfriend, I made sure that I basically non-stop said to her, I'm a gamer, right? I just want you to know that I'm a gamer and I'm a massive anime nerd. I look at the kind of things I watch. I watch these kind of TV shows. Are you sure you still want to talk to me? And she did. She doesn't like any of that stuff. She doesn't have a nerd bone in her body. Well, I suppose like she likes Harry Potter, but that's about it. She doesn't like any games. I've tried everything. I've even tried mobile games. I tried to get her to play Pokemon Go, for God's sake. She just doesn't have a bone in her body, except for mine. So
I was thinking about saying that to you as a joke, but then you did the joke anyway. So props to you. Yeah, guys, we're turning the Xbox 2 into a dating advice show. Get some quality insights on the modern dating from two gamers. Jez has a girlfriend he's been with a long time, and you definitely love my dating advice because I'm nice and single. So,
oh man.
Danny Passion Official says stopping by to say hello, and now I'm a Halo fan. Thank you for the support. I see Miles Dompiers in chat. He says great to hang with everybody on Friday where we can play Halo Infinite. Miles asked me to be on Chatterdays this week, and I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Love Miles, love Chatterdays. Like, Miles is the freaking best, right? And then he gets back to me, he's like, actually, I had a bigger guest say they want to do the show, so I don't need you on Saturday. And I'm like, damn, Miles,
wow.
like, what is going on? Like,
wow,
so he's like, can you come on the following Saturday, because I got a big guest coming on, and I'd rather have them than you. And I'm like, damn, Miles out here really hurting a dude, like he wanted to guest talk about Halo, and I'm there ready to roll, and then he just stabs me, man. He stabs me in the back, but through the heart. He says like, I got someone better and bigger, and I'm like, oh geez, Miles. To think we even had him on an guest episode of Xbox 2, and this is how he repays us. Evergrey says, if Kojima makes a racing game, I swear to God, Jeff Keighley will find a way to get it nominated for Game of the Year, even if it launched in December. Mahler X says, if the last 2 months of the year are not counted, then Game of the Year award is meaningless. Should be done in February like the Oscars. What else we got here? Hargett says, we hear the TGAs are early December for marketing. Do you think that is valid? Since it's past Black Friday, Cyber Monday, how much does it help? If it was a little bit later, like December 20th, would that work? It's a marketing event because of all the freaking trailers that all these companies give to Jeff Keighley. Like I said, like when he hypes it up on Twitter, it's not about the awards. It's about, look at all these exclusive reveals that are coming. You know, it almost seems like the awards themselves are secondary to, you know, the new trailers and stuff and the new games. Zankuzo says, in my case, can't suffer from imposter syndrome when you're really an imposter. Hello from the Dominican Republic. Hello. Thank you for all the support you guys are showing us today. We really appreciate it. I wanted to see if Miles actually responded in chat, but I don't know if he's here anymore. He might have missed it. No. Anyways,
I think he just went off because he had better things to do.
He probably did. He's probably
drinking champagne in Adventure B green room or something.
The thing about the Game Awards, and I'll just say this quickly, is we all knew Forza Horizon wasn't going to be nominated.
I did not.
No, I mean I knew it. I knew it because it's not a game that these journalists really covet or value. Sure, they'll point out that it's the best in the racing genre. But let's be honest here, like there's a few genres and a few categories of games that will never be nominated for the Game of the Year. Racing, sports, mobile, strategy, and sim, right? Because the people that vote on these awards, like they don't appreciate really fully those type of experiences. What they like are the big AAA cinematic games, which have come to dominate the Game Awards. So Forza Horizon, people say it's niche, right? Even though 10 million players in a week says it's not. And if Forza Horizon's niche, then what is every other single game that's nominated? Like, none of those games are going to have as many players as Forza. So the niche argument, you throw away. I've seen some people say, well, it can't be nominated because it's just like Forza Horizon 4. It does nothing new. It does nothing creative, and it does nothing, new, inventive, right? But it's just like, Resident Evil 8's on that list. It's the 8th in the franchise, maybe like the 10th or 12th Resident Evil game. It really doesn't do anything new, right? Doesn't really do anything creative. Ratchet and Clank's on that list. It's like, the 10th Ratchet and Clank game? It's virtually the same as it was when it debuted on the PS2. So I don't want to hear that Forza Horizon can't be nominated because it's not new enough. Because there are definitely games nominated that are virtually similar to their predecessors. You know?
Resident Evil 8 could have been a big, fat DLC for Resident Evil 7. The engine's barely changed.
So here's the thing. So the question then becomes, how does Forza Horizon 6 get nominated for Game of the Year? And this is the only way that it can. Forza Horizon 6 needs a cinematic experience. It needs to have a story where you're a dad down on his luck who needs to race in these events because your kid back home is dying, needs some diabetes medicine or something, and you're just racing because you need to earn money for your kid, and if you don't race, then he's going to die. It needs that AAA cinematic sad dad experience that a lot of games get nominated for Game of the Year on. And you need to put that in Forza Horizon. So anybody from Playground Games, anybody from Xbox is listening, you need to have that in Forza Horizon 6. We need to be able to play as a dad down on their luck, racing, because if we don't, then our family member is going to die. That's how you win Game of the Year. That's how you make these journalists cry and feel something, get emotionally attached to driving these cars. You gotta have the kid's life on the line. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, just thinking about that. I got something in my eye, man. Something in my eye.
I know, right?
I actually kind of like the idea of that. I actually kind of want to play that game.
So out of the 6 nominations for Game of the Year, we have Deathloop, we have Psychonauts 2, we have Metroid Dread, we have Ratchet and Clank. We have It Takes Two, and what is the last one? I'm kind of blanking on the last one.
Metroid. Did you say Metroid?
Yeah, so we got Metroid Dread, Ratchet and Clank, It Takes Two, Deathloop. But anyways, the question I was going to ask was, out of all those, give me your prediction right now. Which game out of those 6 wins Game of the Year?
Out of those 6, I think Psychonauts deserves to win. Personally, I think Psychonauts was by far the most unique out of those games, and told the best story out of those games. It's not my personal game of the year. That's Resident Evil.
Okay.
But I think if I was saying what I think deserves it out of those, I would pick Psychonauts. What would you pick, Rand?
Out of those 6, I would also probably pick Psychonauts. And honestly, if it wasn't Psychonauts, I would pick It Takes Two. A lot of creativity in It Takes Two. I do really like Resident Evil 8. I also do really like Deathloop. But I feel Psychonauts 2 tells more of a it tells more of an adult mature story than those other ones. And It Takes Two was just such a creative game. So I would vote for either one of those. But I think the question is, who do we think the jury's going to vote for? Right?
Psychonauts got a chance.
I do think Psychonauts does stand a chance. There's a part of me that thinks Deathloop is going to win as well. I think it's a three-way race. I think it's between Psychonauts, Deathloop, and Ratchet and Clank. I was surprised Returnal didn't get nominated because I think Returnal is better than Ratchet and Clank. I thought the wrong PlayStation game got nominated, but Ratchet and Clank, I'm not the biggest fan of. The game's okay. When I played it, at no point in time did I think to myself, this is a Game of the Year candidate, but obviously people felt differently. So I think it's between those 3, and I don't know who that jury is going to vote for because they all basically received this similar Metacritic scores. They're all like 88, 87, so I guess it's a toss-up. Maybe Deathloop is more recently in people's minds, so maybe that one has the advantage. And it was nice to see. You recall a few years ago, Jez, when Phil was on the stage with Jeff Keighley, and he was like, yeah, this wasn't our best year, but we'll do better, right? You remember that? Where he literally came on and said that. Here we are a couple years later, and Xbox Bethesda has the most nominations. And we talked about how great their 2021 has been. And they turned it around pretty quickly, didn't they?
They did.
They sure did.
They did. Phil's just constantly in a state of delivering.
Yes.
Phil should be a postman, dude. He should be a mailman. Phil the postman, he delivers.
He delivers. Stephen Boxley says, joining late, predictions for Game of the Year winner. We just gave that, so hopefully you're still here to hear it. JC says, that's not woke enough, has to be a woman driver. So a woman driver in Forza, I guess, to win Game of the Year. Achievement, who's been a member for 3 months, says, so caught up in the infinite multiplayer, forgot to stop. FYI, I want Psychonauts to win, but I think Resident Evil will win. Another reason Xbox should get Capcom. I know Jez has been on that train for a long time. He wants that. He wants Capcom so bad. And Chinook Guy says, I'm actually surprised Returnal didn't get nominated. I was too. I really, really liked Returnal, but didn't make the cut. Maybe it's because a lot of people played it. Who really knows?
Oh, shit.
So,
sorry.
Oh, is everything all right?
Yeah, I didn't know there's a big hole in that. I'm playing Halo. There's a big hole in the map.
Are you playing the multiplayer or are you playing the campaign?
I'm playing Big Team Battle.
Ooh, you love the multiplayer?
Well, I just killed a guy and I was trying to slide over a ridge, but the ridge led into a big fucking hole in the map and I died. So like, oh, there's a hole there. Okay.
Let's talk about the 20th anniversary, shall we? Xbox 20th anniversary. What did you think of the event? 30 minutes long. Did you enjoy it? Did you like the announcements? What was your overall impressions, Jez?
I thought it was okay. I was kind of like, I'm kind of cheating because I knew what to expect because I had an embargo. I had sort of an NDA. I knew it wasn't going to be like this huge sort of, E3 level thing or whatever. But I thought it was a good celebration of the brand, and there was like some really great news for fans of backwards compatibility, Max Payne, and loads of games. So a lot of people are really excited about Otogi, that franchise coming back. Even though I'd never heard of it before, but apparently it's got like a lot of big fans. So that was cool to see. And then like some of the other like little snippets about some of the stuff. I was not so compelling, I suppose, but it was a good event overall. I thought. Like, what's your take on it? I mean, I saw some people were disappointed, but they
Yes.
did kind of try and limit people's expectations on what to expect. Didn't they?
Apparently I missed a couple of super chats, so I'm gonna get to them quick. Hargett says I was replaced by Jeff Grubb. Yes, I know, Miles. He told me Jeff Grubb was taking my spot, and Jeff Grubb is definitely bigger than me. So, and I do like Jeff Grubb a lot. So yeah, why not bump me? I'm not as important, so get the Grubb. Flash Gordon says Kojima's the thief for Walking Sim 2019. So Flash Gordon didn't like that. Rodham says all this talk about Game of the Year, but how is Sea of Thieves not in the best ongoing category, especially this year with the Pirates link? Yeah, that's right. How did that not get in the best ongoing game, Jez? It's kind of
I have no idea.
It's kind of absurd. And Steven says early predictions for 2022 Game of the Year. I mean, God of War, Starfield, Horizon Zero Dawn, Elden Ring. You could make probably a case for any of those. Breath of the Wild 2 if it comes out next year. Next year is going to be packed with contenders. And people already loving Elden Ring, so there's always that chance.
Fantasy 14 Endwalker as well.
So I thought the 20th anniversary was pretty good. I thought they set expectations right. Even though like Aaron Greenberg was like, this isn't a news beat or whatever, but like they literally announced a documentary, Power On, which I actually really want to watch. A 6-part documentary on the history of the Xbox brand. And hopefully they go in depth on like the bad things. Because it's easy to talk about your successes. It's easy to talk about. Well, I know, but like I know they'll talk about Red Ring of Death because that is the cloud that hangs over the 360 generation. But I also want to hear about the decisions that led them to the Xbox One and why they wanted to do DRM and what made them want to bundle the Kinect in when the Wii was dying and Sony was moving away from the Move. Like, I want to hear the decisions that made them make those choices and how the team had to respond. Like, it's easy to talk about your successes. It's harder to talk about your failures. And I would love to see them talk more openly about their failures in greater detail. That would be super interesting to me. So I definitely want to watch that. They had the trailer for the Master Chief, or the Halo series coming to Paramount Plus next year. Really short and sweet. So it's actually coming next year. I'm interested in seeing that. Special Nick says, they saw where the market was going. Yeah, the market was all... Yeah, but Nick, if you remember at the time, the market had already turned away from the Wii. Like, the Wii was dead. By the time like everything was gearing up for the push into the Xbox One gen, the Wii was dead. People had moved away from motion controls. It should have been very apparent to Microsoft that people were going to feel the same about Kinect.
You say that, but Kinect 1 was the fastest selling.
It was
game accessory of all time.
No, I understand that. But look at the canary in the coal mine. The Nintendo Wii, the one that started the whole thing. Like, by 2009, 2010, the Wii was dead. It was dying. People had moved on. Those people, those grandmas and everyone who got into the motion control gaming was into cell phone gaming at that time. Even PlayStation was smart enough to look at the Move and be like, yeah, motion gaming has no future. But Xbox doubled down precisely because of the success they saw with Kinect. So, Oh, Nick's not referring to motion controls. Well, smart speakers in every home, Google and Apple. But yeah, but it took them years and years later. It wasn't immediately after 2013. It took a long time. Either way, sorry to get sidetracked by Special Nick. Hey, Nick, how was it to have your buddy John Sicka Mechanical be able to play Halo when you gave him your Forza Horizon 5 code for a review? You didn't even get to play it. You gave it to him, and he played it early, and then he gets to play the Halo Infinite campaign early. Like, who are you? Like, you got to tell John that you're the one bringing in the viewers for Xbox Era. People are tuning in to hear your rumor mills, whether or not you're right or wrong. You know, like how could John do that to you? He takes everything. Does he ever give, Nick? Does he ever give back? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the 20th anniversary. So I'm interested in the Power On doc. I want to see that. The Halo TV show, super interested. The back and pat announcements, I thought were great. 76 games. As a last hurrah, Jez, are you surprised that these are the last backwards compatible games that Xbox is doing? Are you surprised by that at all?
Yes and no, I guess. Especially given that Phil Spencer literally in an interview said the industry needs to do more emulation. There's a hell of a lot of games that still aren't there that could be emulated. I do think that like if EA or some other company comes to them and they're like, we've got the source code for this, it runs on Xbox One, we'd like to put it on the Microsoft Store as a backwards compatible title, I think they'll still do it. I don't think they're just gonna suddenly. I don't think they refuse those opportunities if they came along. But I think they just like before they had a whole team dedicated to this, dedicated to pushing that. They had a whole team dedicated to it. And a lot of that team, the engineers, they all went on to work on xCloud now, and a lot of the legal teams that did backwards compatibility, they all went on to work on xCloud and obtaining licenses for the cloud streaming stuff, which is going to launch properly next year. So I think it's just like from their end, they're not going to be pushing it as hard. But I do think that we might still see the odd backwards compatible title if a company gets in touch and they're like, yeah, we want to do this. But I don't know, could be wrong.
So Subzetic says the backwards compatible team is moving to the xCloud, and that's why they're not doing any more work. So will we not see any more FPS boost titles? Like, is that initiative finished with 2? It wasn't very apparent from.
I think they're still going to do that too. I think they're still going to do FPS boost. Some of that stuff's relatively simple, especially given that FPS boost is now part of xCloud. I don't know if you caught that little bit of news.
I did see that, yeah.
As well. I thought that was quite an interesting thing to think about. I don't know if that's going to work. Does that just mean like games that were 30 FPS before now have the capability of being FPS boosted? I don't know. But I don't think they're going to stop doing those.
Okay.
Especially since they've branded it.
There was no Jet Set Radio Future. There was no Alpha Protocol. I know a lot of people were looking forward to that, but we did get Max Payne trilogy on Back and Pat. The Time Splitters games were there. So there was some good games added to that list. So as you know, like I don't play any Back and Pat stuff. I appreciate their efforts for people that do own those titles and that want to continue on. It's just not something that personally I'm really ever going to take advantage of. I will say though, I did find one of the FPS boost scenarios funny, as Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3 got 60 FPS boost on the Xbox Series X, and it's like, wait a minute, what happened to Dead Space 1? And then I realized, oh yeah, EA's remaking that game at 60 frames. So they don't want to give you the 60 frames FPS boost for the first game because they're going to sell it to you. So, we'll give them, the other ones, right? So, yeah. Achievement says, worst mistakes: 1, Connect. 2, Red Ring of Death. 3, DRM. 4, Scalebound. Connect should have stayed an accessory like PlayStation VR. Yeah, I 100% agree. Supernova says, Jez, you should punish Jeff Keighley by changing your accent to American.
Man, maybe I'll just try and work on a Jeff Keighley impression.
And Special Nick with this super chat who says, I'm a very generous person who makes the necessary sacrifices for the greater good of my staff. Wow. Letting John play Halo early even though he's actually working for 343 for the Forge stuff. What a sacri- You better do the review. Have you done many reviews for Xbox there? Or you're just sitting there as like the overlord? Like,
I think he's just letting everyone else work while he reaps the fat profits,
yeah,
and then he's gonna sell Xbox Era to that company that Resetera recently sold to.
he's getting big on Twitter. He wants to be able to. Someone called Nick a random. Like, you really believe this random who's got 4,000 followers, and now Nick has more followers on Twitter than that person. So Nick's being like, Nick.
Who
I've
was
seen.
that?
I'm not gonna say his name, obviously, but like now it's like, well, who's the random now who's got less followers? You know. So
That's funny.
yeah, that is. I'll tell you after the air. I'll tell you who said that. But
Drop your Twitter handle, Nick. You should follow Nick. Nick's a good guy
yeah,
for an Australian. For an Australian.
But the big part of the show was the end, where Joe Staten came out, and once you knew you were at 343 and you saw Joseph Staten, you saw all of 343 behind him, you knew they were gonna shadow drop the multiplayer. They set it up like that. He handed the mic over to Tom French. He's like, "Hey, your Spartan journey begins today." Right? And they launched the multiplayer beta on Monday. Everything carries over, blah, 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 blah. And the internet exploded. My question to you, Jez, is, do you wish this didn't leak? How big of a shock and a surprise would it have been outside of, like, okay, the store listings kind of hinted at it, the Pringles countdown, there are some things outside of their control, but, like, if nobody had said anything, how big of a reaction would that have gotten?
That would have been pretty cool. I think there's a possibility more people tuned in because it did leak. So maybe less people would have seen it. But it would have been pretty awesome if it hadn't leaked. Like a lot of things that leak, I guess.
Yeah. says the notorious leaker.
Says the notorious leaker.
Says the notorious leaker, yeah. Radam, who's been a member for 14 months, says, just noticed I've been a member for 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day. Not a flex. I just enjoy that 111. Awesome. So, yeah, everybody got on the Halo Infinite multiplayer. You've been playing it a lot. What are your thoughts? I mean, I know from the tech flight we both loved it, but now you can actually play against real people. All the maps and modes are there. Give me your highs and lows about it.
I'm still sort of, I don't know, deciding how I feel about it in a way. I'm a weird case because I've seen a lot of people who are like, this other Halo did this better and stuff. I've never really gotten into a Halo online. I played the first Halo to death locally with friends, but I never really got into the Xbox Live versions of Halo. I don't know why. I think it was the World of Warcraft era for me then. But this is the first Halo that I've really tried to get into online. So my frame of reference is probably a bit different to some other people. I've heard also I've never bothered engaging with a battle pass before. This is my first battle pass that I've purchased ever. So again, a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, the battle pass sucks in this; it's not fast enough." But I don't have a good frame of reference like a Fortnite battle pass or however what other games have a battle pass. Actually, that's a lie. I have the battle pass in Pokemon Unite.
Oh my god! Of course you fucking do.
That's the only battle pass I've got. Man, I really want the Gengar skin from that battle pass. Okay, but anyway, so for me, I don't really care so much about what people are saying about the battle pass. All I know is like I really love the gameplay. The gunplay is super tight. I got MVP earlier. During the podcast, by the way, I've never got MVP before. In Halo, so that was fun. Learning the weapons. I just turned off vibrations, by the way. I find do you play with vibration on or off?
I usually play with it on. Yeah, I should probably turn it off, but I'm not like.
It plays a lot better without them on.
I can imagine, but I'm just not that super competitive anymore, like I used to be in my 20s. You know.
Fair enough. It's like I don't know. It feels like somehow easier to aim with them turned off. I have had bouts of salt when I've been killed by someone who blatantly has a mouse because they've like done a 180 turn like instantly, and then you think you're getting the drop on someone, and then it's like boom 180-degree turn because they're using the mouse and whatever, and then I get mad. I think there is a question about how crossplay could impact the game. I saw some of the first Halo Infinite hacks already come out recently, tracking through walls and stuff like that. exploiting the auto aim system or something. I assume Microsoft's gonna look into all that stuff, but I'm just loving it so far. Like, I really just, it just feels good. It just feels really good to play. It's not like Call of Duty where you get killed by someone. Half the time it's because they spawned behind you. Half the time it's because of the weird lag that happens on the servers because they don't use dedicated servers like fully and stuff. Like, so clean, so responsive, no lag. Just feels great. It's going to be my Overwatch, I think, for a while until Overwatch 2 comes out.
If
it ever comes
Overwatch
out.
2 ever comes out. I mean, I remember you saying how Vanguard and Battlefield were glitchy and buggy, but here's Halo Infinite and it seems super polished, right?
Yeah, like I'm a Battlefield guy. I've said it here before multiple times. I've always been a Battlefield guy since Battlefield Bad Company 2. I played every Battlefield and loved them, but man, I don't know. They've really screwed up with the new Battlefield really badly. It's got like the lowest Metacritic user score. It's getting hammered on Steam reviews as well at the moment. There's a lot of broken stuff in that game. UI locking up and not working properly. A lot of people are mad that they removed specialists, which I agree with. Those really suck, and the progression's terrible. There's not very many guns. There's not very many maps. There's not very many attachments. It just feels, and there's no campaign. You're paying the same amount of money, and you're getting less product essentially. And I don't know. It's part. It feels like part of the course, and like this is sort of like we're still in the midst of the I don't know what you call it. The sort of the COVID era, maybe, of game development. There's going to be like a massive kink in game development where all the games are sort of rushed out and they're not finished and they're unpolished and stuff like that. And it's because of in the middle of their development, the studios had to transition to work from home, which is a completely different, way of working. And for a lot of studios, they haven't made that transition very well, and it's been a real struggle for them. So I think Battlefield is definitely a product of that. And so is Call of Duty Vanguard, which is also the lowest selling Call of Duty since Call of Duty 4, I think I read.
Yeah, have you seen that they're already free to play this weekend? Vanguard's free to play, the multiplayer. Like
wild.
2 weeks after the game's been out, already free to play. The UK reports from the physical and digital is that the sales for Vanguard were down 40%, which is a lot. It just goes to show you that there was no hype behind Vanguard at all, and
Vanguard
people
is terrible.
And
Truly,
people
truly
were
terrible.
excited for Battlefield 2042, but I know you mentioned some of the issues. It's funny because I actually played quite a bit of Battlefield 2042 this past week before the Halo Infinite stuff, before I got Halo Infinite for preview and the multiplayer came out. And my group of friends, so Gopher and Magic and Maka, we were actually having a ton of fun playing that extraction mode. I don't know if you got a chance. The extraction mode is it's 8 squads of 4, and there's 8 enemy AI on the map. And it's 1 life, you're dead. So you go down, you're basically out for the match. But you can get called back in. So the whole thing of the whole point of the game is there are these data pads that you need to get that are fallen from satellites from the sky. There's 8 squads of 4 that are all vying for these data pads. Some of them are guarded by enemy AI. So once you grab data pads, and you can hold up to 3 for each character, the more data pads you get, the more money you get at the end of the match. After a certain amount of time, an extraction will appear on the map, and a timer will count down for a plane to come in and land, and then you actually have to extract, right? So, but everybody knows where the extraction is going to be, so teams end up going there to try to kill other teams that have the data pads. And the data pads are visible to people that have I forget what it's called, data pad viewers. So if you're walking around with some data pads, people could scan you and find out exactly where you're at. So it's this thing of you need to kill some enemies to get the data pads and then extract. It's actually a lot of fun from what we played of it. But then Halo Infinite's multiplayer came out and everybody's like, oh, well, time to drop Battlefield, which you kind of got to feel a little bit bad for EA and Battlefield. Vanguard was like, okay, like they screwed up, nobody cares about it, and okay, Battlefield 2042 is going to take over, but all the problems, and then here's this Halo dropping in there, fully polished, like Jez is saying, plays great. Like the only real complaints people have, some people might have some complaints about the ranked, how ranked plays, but most of the complaints are about the battle pass progression. But other than that, people are loving Halo Infinite. It's just like, here you are, you're partners with Battlefield, you're partners with EA, Xbox is marketing the game, and Battlefield drops on Monday, and Battlefield's not even fully out, and it's like, are people going to buy Battlefield? It's like, well, do I need to buy Battlefield? Because I have my Halo, because we all thought Halo's multiplayer wouldn't be out until December 8th, and that there would be some, some separation between them, and now there isn't. So I do wonder how much of that is going to impact at least Battlefield on Xbox. So it's interesting. I did like the extraction mode. I don't know if you've tried that mode out at all. I know people are really into the portal mode, but we found ourselves playing the extraction mode over and over again.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I only play the game by myself because I have no friends.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I never played like any of the sort of squad-based modes because I won't have a squad, and playing with random sucks. So what I do, I just play I tend to play what do they call it in Battlefield 2042? It's like their rush mode. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's called Breakthrough. It's like the map's sort of linear, and it's sort of like an attack defend format. You have to capture 2 points, and then you capture that section of the map. So that's what I always play in Battlefield. It used to be called Rush, but now it's called Breakthrough or whatever now for some reason. And generally I really enjoy it. But again, there'll be times where I lose a 1v1 because of a dude with a mouse. And it's the way a person with a mouse moves is completely different to a person with a controller. So you have to sort of you have to make that extra step to analyze if the person you're fighting against is a mouse player or a gamepad player. You have to engage differently. And maybe I just need to get used to it or whatever. But I shouldn't have to, man. I play console to play against console players, not PC players.
Some PC players will say they're at a disadvantage playing against console players because of the auto aim.
Battlefield has no auto aim.
Oh, Battlefield. Okay, yeah. I was more talking about Halo, but
yeah, I do see that excuse from PC players, like, oh, you get auto aim, blah, blah, blah. But I just think they're bad PC players if they have that excuse. There isn't a scenario that exists that a person with a mouse and keyboard should lose to someone with a gamepad if everyone knows what they're doing. Sure, if you're playing with a mouse and keyboard for like the first time ever, then maybe, and you're playing against someone who's experienced. But the fact that like someone with a mouse and keyboard can just turn faster, they can turn faster without sacrificing the momentum of their aiming, With you can set up a controller to sort of and adjust the dead zones in a way that gives you like a bit more control over precision without sacrificing turning speed and stuff like that. You can do it, and there are controllers which let you do it as well, like the Razer V2 Wolverine, for example. Like it's got a really good sort of sensitivity clutch on it, where if you hold down one of the pedals, it adjusts the sensitivity on the stick, so you can move from an instant to like fast turning back into like sort of more standard aiming sort of thing, so you can aim better and stuff. It's a really cool controller actually for that. So it takes some practice getting used to, but there is that you can do. But again, I don't have to do that. I just want to play with a standard Xbox controller. But then maybe you can argue that you shouldn't be so competitive then if you're not using the tools you want to use. But I don't know, man. I don't really care for the mixed input stuff. And but it's not such a big deal that it bothers me. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it or whatever.
Right.
But I did like Battlefield, what I played of it, but the bugs kind of ruin it. And I don't know. I kind of feel like now that Halo's here, my recourse of action just seems like I'm just going to wait until they fix it and play Halo instead. Battlefield's like, I saw a tweet the other day. Someone was like, oh man, EA must be livid that Battlefield's come out, that Halo's come out just the same launch window as a Halo. But I think that EA is glad because it gives them a chance to polish the game and maybe like do a soft relaunch of it later on. Because right now Battlefield's not in a good state, and they made a lot of changes people aren't happy with, and that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Sosky says, "Okay, hear me out, Jez. Kick out Kotick and his board members. Phil gets the okay to buy them. We get a StarCraft Ghost revival under the Coalition." That seems
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But
Achievement says, "Capcom or Sega? Who fits Xbox's holes better?" Probably Sega, because Xbox really wants to focus on PC gaming, and Sega has a lot of PC developers. Although it's hard to argue against Capcom. They got a lot of great franchises that would help out Game Pass tremendously.
Capcom recently announced that they're gonna consider PC their lead platform now, though.
Oh yeah, I did see that. That is true. PC's, it's only growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger. Aethiel says, your gyro aiming would solve keyboard and mouse and gamepad debate. And David says, did you know that you can change the color on the menu button in Steam settings? Only on the Elite 2, and any chance that Xbox will change it on Xbox? They should, because I have seen pictures of the Halo Elite Series 2 with like a yellow Xbox like LED Xbox Nexus button. I think that would be super cool.
Color, yeah.
But so I played a little bit of the multiplayer. Like I played a bunch in the tech test, and I mean it feels like, I know they're calling this a beta, but it really does feel like version 1, like the final release. I was playing it with my friends. We did a lot of big team battle. I got my ass handed to me because I wasn't like. I'm playing with some really good players. Casual, who's James Shields, Magic, who's incredible at shooters, Maka, every time I try to kill somebody, they already killed them. So like my KD is pretty horrible right now, and I haven't really been able to like dedicate a lot of time to playing the multiplayer, but I've loved what I play so far, and I can't wait to play more. Here's the thing. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like this, but like as someone who doesn't care about the battle pass at all, like all my friends bought the battle pass. They all bought the premium thing. They all jumped 25 levels, and they're all complaining in the party about the freaking the challenges they have to do, right? Like, and I have some thoughts about the battle pass situation. As someone who doesn't care for battle pass, as someone who doesn't care for the cosmetics, there isn't really anything for me to actually, quote unquote, grind towards when I play Halo, right? Jez, we've talked about it before. And I was recently on Defining Duke with our buddies Lord Cognito and Mr. Matty Plays. We recorded it on Wednesday. They called me Randall Cheap. Those bastards. Why? They called me Randall Cheap because I was telling them how I don't care about cosmetics, how I've never bought a battle pass, right? And I played Warzone for 200 hours, didn't spend a dime. I played PUBG for 900 hours, didn't spend a dime. I paid Apex Legends for 100 hours, didn't spend a dime. And they're all like, I played Rainbow Six Siege for 200 hours, didn't spend any money on that. And so like Maddie called me, "Oh, you're Randall Cheap, huh?" And I'm like, I'm not saying I'm cheap. I just don't care about cosmetics. I'm not going to spend $20 on some armor because I don't really care, right? I just don't care at all. So I see the battle pass stuff and it doesn't grab me because I don't care about the cosmetics. So I'm not spending $15 or whatever for the battle pass. So okay, fine. Like there should be some overall progress I'm working towards, right? Like think about it. Like when you kill somebody in the game, you get 100 points. But and at the end of the game, you get a tally of all the XP in the game, right, Jez? But it doesn't count towards anything. There is no level progress. You could go in a game and get 50 kills, get like 5 overkills, 3 triple kills, capture the flag 2 or 3 times, all this stuff. And if you didn't do specific things, specific challenges for your battle pass, you essentially don't get any progress towards anything. Which I think is not good whatsoever. So for someone like me who doesn't give a rat's ass about the battle pass, there's no like, what am I know, I understand I'm playing the game for fun, and that should be enough. But for a lot of people, it's 2021. Just playing something for fun isn't enough. They want something to work towards. They want something to get rewarded for. Like when I was playing Warzone, I completed the battle pass in Warzone simply by playing Warzone and getting kills and winning games. That won't happen in Halo Infinite. I know they changed it where you get 50 XP for completing a match or whatever, but I don't really think that's enough. I don't like the challenges either, because like they're usually weapon related, and I find any sort of challenges that change player behavior, like get kills with a certain amount of weapon, I find those to be off-putting and awful. I hated those when they were achievements in multiplayer games, where it's like, it wasn't just, hey, win a game or whatever. It's get like 30 kills with this weapon, or, like some ridiculous requirement. Like, I've never liked that. I understand that they're looking at it, and this battle pass does last 6 months, and they don't want people to essentially like blow through it. But, I don't know, like, maybe I'm just, I don't know. How does everybody in chat feel about Battle Pass? Do you care about the Battle Pass? Did you buy it? Are you constantly going for the challenges? Am I just a weirdo here? Am I just someone who's just like completely crazy for not caring about the Battle Pass and the cosmetics? Jez, am I crazy? Do you care about that stuff?
I don't really care about them in Halo. Man, honestly, I don't really care about them in any game I play. Like, I played a whole load of Overwatch, and I have bought loot boxes in Overwatch because there is, every now and then, there's been a skin that I thought, oh, yeah, I quite like that skin, I want it for my character or whatever. But it's not really something that has been such a huge deal for me. And, this is why publishers prefer pay to win. Because they know pay to win is way more compelling than the skin for everyone. If you're progressing and gaining power, then that's more compelling than getting just like a skin or a shade or a color or something. And I haven't really looked into it that much because, like I say, I don't really care that much about the battle pass. And like, if you just play here and there by 6 months, you should probably max it out anyway. I'm just having a quick look at it now, the battle pass, just to see what's actually in there. Because I went ahead and bought it because I thought, oh well, that's what you meant to do with the battle pass, right? But looking here, it's like visors, boosts, and
and mostly you just swap challenges. Yeah. There wasn't anything. I mean, the stuff that's cool at the end of the battle pass, like the flaming shoulder pads or the flaming like helmet or whatever, are cool. And the Jakester says in chat, the Battle Pass isn't that interesting, but the Tenra event, however, that one does look much more interesting. That's the one that gives you the samurai armor and all that stuff. Right. That event starts next week. That one seems to be way cooler than any of the stuff they're offering right now in the Battle Pass. So it's awesome to see 343. Like, they're on it. Like, they heard the complaints about the progression. They're changing it for the better. They're monitoring the situation. So they are listening to fans. So if you have any complaints, they're definitely like paying attention. So it's cool to see them fix these things in real time really quickly as they approach like the final release of the game on December 8th. Gaming Forte has been a member for 14 months, says, love the preview for the campaign at 3 a.m. in the morning, but was happy to hear your excitement. 343 Industries might have turned the corner, but time will tell. Yeah. 3 a.m. in the morning. Did not want to put that video out then, but that's when the embargo was up, and that's when everybody's videos were going up, so you got to do the same thing, Criminal Logic says, gruesome twosome, caught you live, awesome show, spit it out, Jez, we need some juicy leaks. Everybody wants some leaks. Do you have any more interesting stuff, or are you fresh out?
I'm fresh out of leaks.
Fresh out of leaks.
No more leaks.
No more leaks for now, right? No more leaks for now.
For now, maybe next year. Maybe next year after the holidays, we'll get back to some more leaking.
Only on Xbox says Mr. Krabs and Randall Thor are the same person. Yeah, they were giving me some crap on defining Duke about being Randall cheap, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. I just don't care about cosmetics, and I'm just not going to spend money on it. And I know people are saying in chat like I should throw the devs some money, but like, hey, they made the game free to play, and I'm going to play it. And there's nothing that like I look at those like Halo Championship Series armors that really do look cool, but then I'm like, those things are like $10-15. Like, I don't care enough to spend $10-15 on it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird like that. Like, I know people spend all the money on Fortnite skins, but I wouldn't buy anything in Fortnite. I don't know. And it's not like I like have no money to spend. It's just like I'd rather spend my money on something else. I don't know. Oh, we got Colt Eastwood in the chat. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Enjoyed your video. Yeah, Colt Eastwood's just so good at making videos. Like, I spent, which we're about to talk about here, the campaign preview in a minute. Me and Jez both played it. I spent a good, 3 to 4 hours on my video yesterday. And then I watched Colt's, and I'm just like, I suck at YouTube. Colt's just so good at what he does. I'm always impressed by like Colt and Dealer and the production values they put into their videos, you know.
Practice, man. Watch what other people do and try and rip them off, you know. So just rip them off.
Just rip them off, yeah. Michael G says, I wish it was still red versus blue. It's hard to tell the enemies now. Yeah, I see some people complaining about that they don't like, they don't like the outlines, or they're too hard to see. But hey, when you're doing cosmetics, it's something that you kind of have to do. And Shakespeare's really going crazy upstairs right now. RRD says, plot twist, Miles' bigger guest is Jez. No, definitely his guest is Jeff Grubb, who's definitely bigger than me. The Good Doctor says, never bought a Battle Pass. I think they should add a tier for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members to give them a benefit over the free-to-play players. They definitely said they were going to offer some Xbox Game Pass Ultimate perks. We haven't really heard or seen what they could be yet. I thought it would be cool if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber if you got the Battle Pass for free, but you kind of knew they were going to sell those things separately. You know, Jez, you can actually, I've seen people actually complete the Battle Pass already by spending $200. Like, if you spend $200, you could complete the Battle Pass and get everything. So they do let you spend money to buy levels in the game and the Battle Pass.
Isn't that pay to win? Well, I suppose
it's all cosmetics. So what do you're not really paying to win anything. And Colt Eastwood with the $5 super chat. Halo and Forza dominating 2021. Who knew? Who knew indeed? I mean, we knew Forza would dominate. We just didn't know it would dominate to this extent. I mean, nobody thought 10 million players in a week. Nobody thought the biggest Xbox launch in history. Jez, the biggest Xbox launch in history, that means bigger than Halo 3, which you would imagine is probably the biggest ever for Xbox, right? Now, I don't know if that just means, does that just mean in Xbox Game Studios history? Or are they literal when they say the biggest launch in Xbox history, like bigger than any of the Call of Duties? You know what I mean? Because it was kind of, like, if you look at the tweet,
I think they mean biggest in Xbox Game Studios, surely. Right?
Well, I mean, you would think, but usually PR is pretty specific about those things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I could ask someone. That's interesting. Could it seriously be the biggest out of even Call of Duty? But then again, they're also factoring PC in there, right?
True.
They must be talking about Game Studios.
Well, I mean, when you look at their tweet, right? Thank you to the more than 10 million Forza Horizon fans for the biggest first week in Xbox history and Xbox Game Pass ever. And the image says biggest launch in Xbox history and over 10 million players. Doesn't specify Xbox Game Studios history. It literally says biggest launch in Xbox history. Now, am I wrong to construe that as potentially like bigger than a third-party game? Or are you, or should we just say it's the biggest first-party launch? Right?
I think it's probably their main biggest first-party launch, but I don't know. I could reach out and ask. How many was it? 10 million? How many days?
Biggest. It says more than 10 million fans for the biggest first week in Xbox history and Game Pass ever. So
it's It's a pretty vaguely worded statement. Thinking about it, I could ask exactly what they mean by that, I guess, but
I mean,
it's interesting.
that's pretty huge. So Forza dominating, we knew it would dominate, but not to this extent. And Halo, I really want to know. Let me ask you guys here in chat. Do you think Halo Infinite's first week will be less than Forza Horizon 5 or more? So essentially, do you think Halo can do 10 million players in a week? Because I kind of feel like that's a tall order for Halo, isn't it? But I know it's free to play, where Forza is not. Like, yeah, it was on Game Pass, but this multiplayer is free to play and there's no campaign yet. So I'm very interested. Like, we got that first day stat from Phil. Like, hey, Forza Horizon did 4.5 million. And you can easily check the leaderboards to see what the numbers are for Forza. But there's no way to check for Halo. So I'm very interested. Like, what is going to be the bigger game week one? Forza Horizon 5 or Halo Infinite? I'm super interested if we get numbers next week, like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, where Xbox just comes out and is like, Halo Infinite's the biggest launch in Xbox history. Could you imagine if they had 2 back-to-back weeks, Jez, where they broke Xbox history? Forza Horizon breaks it at 10 million, and then the following week, Halo Infinite breaks it at like 12 million or something. Wouldn't that be just like absurd?
It would be absurd. It would be absurd. They've had a big year, man. Like when you zoom out and look at Age of Empires being like the biggest launch in franchise history, and then bloody what they've done with Halo and what you've got with Forza, and all the other third parties, not third party, all the smaller game studio stuff that has happened, like Psychonauts and Wasteland had DLC. Next week is this week 2 big launches for Minecraft. Minecraft Dungeons is getting a massive DLC. And also Minecraft itself is getting Caves and Cliffs Part 2 DLC or whatever. And we've also got Grounded had a massive DLC. I'm curious how Grounded's doing these days, although they're not really marketing it at all. It's just been a huge year. Absolutely massive year. And next year is going to be even more crazy because you're going to have Starfield, Redfall, and, xCloud's probably gonna leave beta properly next year and start being actually marketed. I've also got like hints at possibly maybe new Xbox hardware as well next year.
Wait, what? Say that again? wait, say that
Actually,
again because anybody listening who writes for a website, did you just hear what Jess said? Possibly new Xbox hardware? What could that be?
Huh? Well, maybe. I've heard that Microsoft's going ahead with actually this is going back to a Brad Sams leak from years ago where he said Microsoft was working on a streaming device for Xbox. Well, I've got information that they may actually be going ahead with that. Well, is it next year? Is it the year after? I'm not sure on that right now. It's very early days, I think. But yeah, we are getting not just a diskless Xbox. We're moving to a fully cloud-based Xbox, possibly. Could be that it never gets launched. Could be it's just a prototype, stuff like that. But I personally believe that it's coming. A sort of answer to Google's Chromecast. The Stadia still exists, by the way. Just had its 2-year anniversary yesterday.
Stadia's still around? Oh my god.
Stadia still exists, yeah. So Microsoft's going to have a Chromecast answer, Apple TV answer, probably next year or the year after, possibly. They're not slowing down, man. They've got so much stuff they're trying to work through with all the games and the platform stuff, and it's crazy. It really is crazy. It's hard to keep up with.
No, I don't know if anybody's gonna write articles about streaming thing. Like when you said new hardware, I'm sure people are like, "What? A new Xbox Series X, more powerful, more teraflops."
No.
But not yet.
If it's in the cloud, you can have infinite teraflops technically, but
not new hardware in the way that us hardcore want new hardware. But yeah, it makes sense. Like you have a streaming stick potentially, a Game Pass app on your smart TVs. Like that's the whole play. Atticus says, anyone else annoyed with the grenades? Holy crap, man, maybe nerf them a little. Yeah, grenade spam is definitely a thing for Halo. It happens all the time. I
actually thought the grenades weren't powerful enough. I like hit people with a grenade and it just takes their shield off, doesn't kill them, and I'm like, come on, that should have killed them, surely.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the grenades were okay. Grenades are a huge part of the tactical mind games in Halo, surely.
Everyone's
'Cause,
idols.
like,
Goro says, Jez, no more leaks. Also, Jez, stick. Because earlier today in the podcast, you're like, I got no more leaks. And now you're just like, here's a leak I got for you guys. Uh-oh, Jez is writing up an article right now on Windows Central.
Nah.
Anyways,
But yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Xbox TV. I don't know. It's just fun, man. It's just fun. I feel excited about Xbox. Like, I felt excited about Xbox for a while, but like we're starting to see it in the flesh now. It's not just promises anymore. It's not just faith. We're not just taking everything on faith. We're starting to see it. We've seen the hardware nailed. We're starting to see the games get nailed. Like the whole cloud thing, which, by the way, Windows Central leaked that Microsoft was working on cloud gaming back in 2013. That was a Windows Phone Central exclusive. Xbox is working on a cloud gaming platform, and I've got it here in my hands. Not on a Windows Phone, sadly, which of what it was originally being built for. But I do have it. I do have my cloud gaming, so I don't know. It's really cool. Have you actually tried the cloud gaming on Xbox yet?
Not yet.
It's available on Xbox One now. So now you can play Xbox Series X games on an Xbox One, and everyone with an Xbox One isn't being left behind as long as they've got Game Pass.
That's super interesting because you can essentially play Starfield and Redfall next year. You can play the Medium, although I don't think Microsoft Flight Sim's in the cloud yet. So yeah, I've even seen some people say like, "Hey, I have an Xbox Series or Xbox One S that has now basically been turned into a Series S." So they're playing the one, but they're playing like Halo through the cloud. But like on the One S, it plays at 30 frames. But if you play it through the cloud, it plays at 60 frames, right? So it's like a better way to play the game, which is super interesting. Adam says, "I'm with you, Rand. I don't care for cosmetics either." Yes, another one who's just like me, but apparently we're the minority. Neon Black says, "Now I want an $800 all-inclusive Xbox Series X2 next year, Jez. Hashtag shut up and take my money." I think there'd be a lot of people who'd probably enjoy another Xbox coming out really soon. But let's talk about the Halo campaign, Jez. I definitely have a lot to say. I haven't really talked to you much about the campaign. So give me your quick thoughts about the campaign. I know you wrote the article for Windows Central, which you guys should go check out. Go to Windows Central, check out Jez's thing, and while you're there, hit up manscaped.com and put in code XP2 and buy some things, right? For the holidays. For your friends. So
for your friends' balls.
Yes, for your friends' balls. So how are you feeling about Halo Infinite campaign right now? I mean, we talked at length about the concern, right? Like we were like, not sure if 343 can do this. How's the open world gonna so many times. Now we played the campaign. How are you feeling?
Like I am sold on the sort of, I don't know, the design, the layout of what they propose. I'm on board now. I wasn't on board before, and like I wrote in my preview, I just come in from writing a review of Far Cry 6, which I hated. I hated reviewing that game. I just did not enjoy it. I thought it was like just not fun grinding all those outposts every single time in a Ubisoft game. I'm really tired of the formula, and I did write there in my review that if you're not tired of the formula, great, that's fine. But I am super tired, and because I'm tired, there's nothing new here for me. So I was dreading it. I was like going into Halo thinking, man, is this just going to be Far Cry? Thank God that it isn't. It isn't Far Cry. And it's not Assassin's Creed, and it's not all of other Ubisoft's games that are open world with outposts. It is basically Halo Combat evolved to its most logical conclusion. It's sort of when I was playing it.
I like that, Jez. I like that. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have written that in my preview probably, but I've only just thought of it just now. Damn it. But it feels like Halo Combat evolved. In the sense that it reminds me of those sort of classic those classic Halo levels, like in Halo Combat Evolved, where you first land on the Halo ring, and then you're driving around the Warthog, and there's UNSC forces battling the Covenant in the distance, and you can get involved with them if you feel like it, or you can just drive past them and go back straight to the objective. Like that is how it feels. It feels like Halo Combat Evolved to me. Like the sort of the path you cut through the Halo ring in the first Halo game. That's how it feels. It feels like just that kind of gameplay. The outposts are there. If you want to engage with them, you can go and do that. And they're fun to do because you've got the really cool grappling hook, and you can do all crazy shit. You can, you really can. When you've got all the upgrades for the grappling hook, I've got some hilarious footage. And this is actually not part of the preview because I don't think it's possible to unlock the full grappling hook in the preview. But I will say that by the end of the game, when I've unlocked all the upgrades for the grappling hook, you can basically, it lowers the cooldown of it. So you can basically be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I did have that upgrade where it reduces the cooldown by 40%, and you can pretty much like use it all the time. It's so awesome. It's
hilarious. Like I was literally like recording clips of me just sort of seeing how long I could stay up in the air, swinging around trees and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. Really great design. And then like if you look at some of the other features in the campaign, like I really quite like how they implemented the high value targets, because it sort of gave me a sort of shades of Monster Hunter almost, where it was like, this is your target and this is what they can do. Some of them have unique abilities, or they have like super versions of existing Halo weapons. Like one had a sniper rifle that like had an extra explodey effect on it and stuff like that. Like it just felt like they were worth doing, because once you killed them, you unlocked their weapons, and then you could use their weapons in the open world or in the campaign gameplay. And I really, really liked that. And like reading the notes about how to take them on. Like again, this isn't in the preview, so I'm violating embargo slightly here, but I don't think they'll mind. This isn't a spoiler either, by the way. There was one optional boss, a high value target, which was incredibly tough. It was like, it's like two dudes, tons of armor, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, how is this meant to be possible?
I don't think you should talk about that.
Well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, I don't want you to get me in trouble, but okay.
I'm not getting in trouble, man. Trust me. Like this is vague. This is vague enough to not get in trouble, I think. But I was kind of like, man, how am I gonna take this on and stuff? And then because like as you do level up through the campaign, you do like unlock more features for your outposts, which is in the preview, Rand. You can unlock upgrades for your outposts, and you get more like Marines and stuff like that for the outposts. And in the preview, I unlocked the Razorback, which is a variant of the Warthog, which has lots of seats in the back. So to take on this boss, I just like, and this is an optional boss, it's not part of the story or anything. Take on this boss, I just loaded up a Razorback with Marines carrying rocket launchers, and I just went in there blowing shit up, man. And I was like, yeah, screw this. I'm just going to blaze through it. The Marines killed each other with the rocket launchers.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
Of course they did. But they did enough damage that I could like just about take on these like this double boss fight. And it just felt, none of it felt required. I think like that's the thing that really separated it from Far Cry or Assassin's Creed or something. None of it felt really required of me. The game wasn't saying you have to kill this many outposts to progress the story. None of it was required. So I never felt like I was grinding or I was just going through the motions. It didn't overstay its welcome, I think. Like when I was going through. And then, like, when you do get bored of doing outposts or whatever, then you can progress the story and do something unique in, like, one of the sort of more dungeony, set-piece designed kind of areas. Jeff Grubb compared it to Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. I haven't played Breath of the Wild, so I can't make that comparison myself, but loads of people seem to agree that's a really good comparison for it, in terms of, like, the open world not being forced on you. It's just like a fun sandbox world. You're never like forced to engage with it. The sandbox, it's almost like the sandbox isn't the point. The sandbox is just a feature of the wider game. And that's how it felt in Halo Combat Evolved, when it was like those sort of levels where you are driving around in a tank. You can get out of the tank, and you can just go on foot if you want. And you can do whatever you want. Like it's a sandbox. It's not so much of a, an outposty open world kind of drudgery, repetitive sort of thing. And that's how I felt about it all the way through. Not just the preview, but like all the way through. I never felt like I was grinding. I felt like I was just having a load of fun with the crazy guns and the grappling hook, and seeing what kind of tricks I could pull off with all these tools that the game was giving me. And that's it. It's a great sandbox game, and it doesn't you're never sort of forced to engage with any of the activities.
All right, yeah. I'll give my thoughts after I hit up a couple of these super chats. Antonio, he gives us $5, and the message is retracted, so I don't know what he's saying there. So thank you for the support. George says, chances Kami and Microsoft work again doesn't have to be scale bound. I don't think they'll work together again. Adam says, I can't find a Series X, so I played the medium on Xbox One over cloud. Tried Rift Breaker 2. Surprised how much I've enjoyed it. P.S. You guys rock. Thank you so much for the compliment. Kendrick Star says, when is the first Xbox exclusive coming in 2022? That would probably be Stalker that we know of. I know it's at least exclusive for 3 months. That's coming in April 28th, assuming it doesn't get delayed. Otherwise, Redfall is probably September. Forza Motorsport is most likely October. And then Starfield is November. Crossfire X might be sometime early in the first half of next year. Exomecha sometime early next year. Scorn, Tunic. There's a lot of games that were supposed to come out this year that got delayed, so they'll be spread out throughout 2022 for sure. And Raiden Blade, who's been a member for 6 months, says, I wish if Xbox would bring back the cinema app where you invite your friends to watch a movie or comedy. It would bring more people to Game Pass. Yeah, like the Netflix thing. That I do wish the Netflix thing was still around. And Dub, who's been a member for 5 months, says it was great waking up today and seeing the positivity about the campaign. The turnaround that 343i has made from that E3 demo should be commended. Yeah. Well, the thing with the E3 demo was, I pointed out how I liked how the game played. It was that, like, the game doesn't look good. Like, there's a lot of pop-in, a lot of texture loads in.
In Halo?
Well, from the campaign demo from 2020, last year. Like, how bad it looked. And, like, the whole Craig meme. So, I guess I'll start off by saying this about the campaign. Since we're on the graphics thing. It definitely looks like an Xbox One title. And it's there are some times where it doesn't look particularly the greatest, but I've never really been the biggest stickler for the graphics thing. That's not my area, right? Like, it is just a little weird coming from Forza Horizon 5, which is like one of the best looking games ever, to playing Halo, and you realize that a lot of their sacrifices to do the open world at 60 frames definitely took a hit from like how graphically impressive the game might be, so I did notice that. So there's an opening cutscene, which we can't even talk about, which was just hype. So hype. Just thinking about it now just makes me smile.
That's the thing about Halo. Like, even though I'm not the biggest Halo fan in the world, there were multiple times throughout the game that I had goosebumps. It's been a long damn time. It's been a long, long time since a game has given me goosebumps. Like, even like just going on the main menu, and hearing the music, the chorus, I'm not going to sing it because that'd be really embarrassing. But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The music is just amazing throughout, and there's just some scenes in it too that are just sort of like, oh my god, I can't believe this. No game, I haven't felt like that from a game for a really long time. And I don't know if that's a me thing, me problem or whatever, but Halo has that impact. The characters and the backstory and the legacy it carries a certain weight that I think maybe sometimes Microsoft has potentially undervalued over the years, maybe.
Well, it's almost like Halo Infinite's like a nostalgia play, almost, right? Doesn't
a little bit.
Like, feels like you get those chills because it's like, it's Chief, right? And like... Yeah. oh my God, there's Cortana in like a flashback. Like you get those moments where it's like you're a kid again, experiencing Halo 1 or however old you were, where a lot of Xbox's franchises don't really lean heavily on nostalgia in that way, but Halo can. Halo's one of the few that's been around that long that can rely on it. So I think most of you know the game starts off with, the pilot waking up, seeing Master Chief floating in space, brings him in, basically tells Master Chief that everybody lost. UNSC's gone, they're dead. And immediately you're thrust into the action, you're boarding a brute ship, and right away, right from minute 1 of the gameplay, you have the grapple hook. And I never stopped using it, because it is so much freaking fun to use, Jez, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I almost feel like it's a bit overpowered. Like it's so versatile as a tool that you just never kind of really need to ever stop using it. There's never a situation. Sorry, go on.
Or like never switch to any, like in the preview that we played, you also get a threat sensor. I think all the equipment from the multiplayer is in the game. I didn't get to experience like the thruster or the drop wall, which we've seen in the campaign overviews, but I did have the grapple hook and the threat sensor, and switching between them is kind of awkward. You got to like press like down on the D-pad and then really quickly press
like combo.
You'd have to like remember where they are. So, and you're right, like the grapple hook is so good in every single way. Like it gets you up, the vertical cliffs in the open world. You can grab onto enemies, and if you upgrade it, electricity will kind of shock them. They'll stay in place. You can use it to get behind enemies. I use it all the time to grab plasma coils to then throw them at enemies, because they're almost like one-hit kills. And because there's so many plasma coils everywhere, it almost becomes like an extra weapon. You have your typical 2-weapon Halo, your typical 2 weapons that you have in Halo, right? But with all the plasma coils everywhere, it definitely feels like they gave you a third weapon when you combine it with the grapple hook. It's like, let me grab this plasma coil and let me throw it at this brute and kill him, right? But yeah, I found myself, even when I got the threat sensor, being like, I don't really need to use the threat sensor to see where the enemies are. So like, why would I want to switch out from using the grapple hook? Because it's so much fun to use. And like right away, like you just feel it. Like the assault rifle, the pistol, they're all great to use. It has that classic Halo, 30 seconds of fun, melee grenades, assault rifle. You're introduced to the antagonist of the game, Eshram, who I think he's actually a really good antagonist.
Escharum is incredible.
Yes,
man. I have a slightly different perspective on Escharum because I've finished the game, but Escharum is one of my favorite characters in Halo of all time. Like straight up, I say that right now. Aaron DePaul, the voice actor, he's absolutely tremendous. Escharum is a great character story arc. I think everyone's gonna love Escharum, and he'll be remembered as a classic hero, I think. Classic, not hero, character, I guess. I think you're thinking of it in like MOBA terms. Because I was comparing him to, in my head, because Darren DePaul does the voice acting. I was like, he's a bunch of characters in World of Warcraft, and like, but I didn't know because he sounds completely different. The dude is so versatile, and I was like shocked. I was like, oh my god, he's N'Zoth in World of Warcraft. Sounds nothing like him, but it was really cool, man. Really great character.
Rachel says, but what about Skill Up thinking he's a Saturday morning villain? I mean, I don't know. I haven't experienced the full game, so I don't know how his progression is done, but like, I like the idea of like, here's this villain who respects you a lot, but also is pleased that he can fight you to essentially beat you, because it would mean like so much. I don't know. I really enjoyed Eskrim from the brief glimpses we've seen.
I'm telling you now. Like, I like Skill Up a lot, but man, Eskrim is not a Saturday morning villain. You're gonna, especially by the end. Like, he's a really cool villain. Just a really cool character. I'm really hyped actually about Eskrim.
So the first level is basically tight ship corridor combat. Second level opens up a little bit more. You get into like a Forerunner installation, And that's where the Halo art really shines. Like I love the Forerunner stuff because it's so alien. It's so cool looking. It always seems like when you're going to these things, like you're about to like learn some huge secret. And you meet the new AI, your new AI companion, the weapon. And right away, like when she starts talking, I was like, that's Jen Taylor's voice, who does Cortana. Like you can hear Cortana in her voice, but she's a young, naive AI. She doesn't really know what's going on. And I thought it would be grating at first, but I found it refreshing, especially in contrast to the pilot, who is very anxious, who doesn't want any part of any of this. He's actually kind of angry. Like he just wants to run away and hide.
He's super angry.
So like you contrast it with this AI who is super young and naive, with Master Chief's like mission of like, we have to save the world and do our duty. And you get the sense that Master Chief is hiding some secrets, because that's the main mystery that's flows throughout the game that is pushing the narrative is, one, what are the Banished doing on the ring? What are they looking for, right? And two, what happened to Cortana? Because it's not clear. Because as the AI said, she was supposed to infiltrate and basically lock down Cortana. Master Chief was supposed to take Cortana and then to back to the Infinity for deletion. And then the AI weapon would have been deleted, right?
Yeah.
But the AI weapon's still around. So does that mean Cortana's still around? And that is like the two core mysteries, basically. That's basically the two core mysteries that are basically pushing the narrative. Is what are these two things, and how is the information going to be doled out? So I don't know anything more than I don't know like what happens, any of that stuff. I know Jez does, but I personally don't. And I find those mysteries to be really engaging, and I want to learn more, which is why when I started playing it, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because I was engaged by the mystery. I couldn't stop because, like Jez says, it is just so much fun to play through. Like, I thought the open world aspect would kind of be a hindrance to the overall Halo gameplay style, but like, you get across the open world pretty fast, whether you're running or whether through the vehicles, and there's so many different combat engagements, whether you're saving Marines or whether you're doing the optional fights. Like there was this one high value target, Jez, I don't know if you remember, where it was an elite with a energy sword, but he was cloaked, right? And it was kind of hard to get a bearing of where he was at, and especially on heroic difficulty, like I died a few times before I figured out like those high value targets, they really actually add a really good combat challenge. So you have all these different combat scenarios like all over the map. You have all these different weapons hidden somewhere, different ways you can engage each one of these battles. Like the ransom keep, the big keep. Jez, I don't know how you went about it in your playthrough. Like, I don't know if you went and you scaled up a cliff and you started shooting people with the sniper rifle. You know what I did? I took a ghost from another part of the map, drove it to the keep, and just killed everybody in the keep with the ghost. But like it's all player choice, like because I could have went into the keep and just went through the front gate with my guns and just started killing everybody or sniping everybody from afar. Instead, I took a vehicle in there and killed everybody. Like I love that sort of opportunity that the open world presents alongside the grapple hook, so you can get many different vantage points. Like I think that's super cool, right? So yeah, like the open world is not as big as I thought either, because it's segmented. It's sectioned off. So there's only so many things you can do side mission wise before you're sort of corralled back to the main story. Like you can't go and explore, like you can in Far Cry, where you could explore everything before you actually do the main story. Like this one's like, yeah, you might be able to save a couple Marines. You might be able to do the keep and like a high value target, but you know what? You're gonna have to go do the mission, because all the other islands you can't access right away. So I thought that was really smart design, because it does make it feel like what you said, like it's Halo Combat Evolved, but evolved, where it's just like a section where there's a lot of different things you can do, but you're always being funneled toward the ultimate goal, which is the completion of the story, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's fundamentally it. It just feels like it just doesn't feel like it's that your typical open world kind of game. Like what I've come to expect and some in some ways dread of these kind of games. And the story, just like you say, the mystery with Master Chief, what the hell happened after Halo 5, that drove me forward. That really did drive me really hard forward. I couldn't put it down. I literally couldn't put it down. Like I said, I'm not reviewing it, but I played it. I had to play it for fun. It's not often that I play games for fun these days, or even have time to play games for fun. So I appreciate Halo giving me the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah. So I haven't had this much fun playing through a Halo campaign in the first 4 levels, 4 hours in a long time, maybe since Halo Reach. And I definitely like it way better than Halo 5. I was not a fan. Like, everything feels so cohesive. So if the quality keeps up from what I've played, then this will easily be 343's best Halo campaign. And who knows where it would sit in the pantheon of, like, other Halo campaigns. It's certainly much better than I expected. Like, with Halo 5, I was kind of like, oh man, they got away from what made Halo Halo. I didn't really care for Locke. Master Chief wasn't in it that much. The story just wasn't that interesting. But with this one, it's just like, okay, we're back to Chief. This is his story. This is his journey. There's a lot of cool mysteries that are going on. Like, I really need to know what happened with Cortana. I want to know if the Flood are in the game, right? What the hell is the Banish up to? Is Aatrox going to show up? Like, all these questions that are driving me, and the game at its core still feels, after all this time, incredible to play. Yeah. So I mean, what I want to do this weekend is just finish the game. I just want to complete the campaign. But then I know, like, well, when I make my review later in the next month, I'm probably going to have to complete the campaign again because I like it fresh in my mind, like when I'm talking about something, when I'm making my videos. So we'll see. But yeah, it almost is like 343 nailed it. They killed it with the multiplayer. Everybody loves it. They're listening to the Battle Pass progression stuff. We had questions about the single player, and honestly, it's like they might have completely nailed this out of the park. Thank God for that year delay. Who knows what version of Halo we would have gotten if it launched with the console.
Yeah, to think about.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, what would we have gotten? So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have more to talk about Halo Infinite when we actually review the game, which we can't tell you when. Yep. But it'll be close to release. Kendrick Star says, what do you think of the Wheel of Time show? So far, I really like it. First episode was the weakest. 2 and 3 got a lot better. And I'm looking to see how it continues to grow from there. J-Dub is a shill says, hey, Jez, I still haven't gotten that Bone Cream Xbox. I would ask for your help, though. That would be a pause moment. Hashtag Bone Cream. So, yeah. What else we got here? Phil Spencer, Jez, really talked about a lot of stuff with 20th anniversary. We mentioned before he reconfirmed Elder Scrolls exclusivity, which I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody else in chat. Like, can we please not stop talking about the Bethesda exclusivity? We know the games are exclusive. It's not a story anymore. Like, I understand that maybe some people don't like. It's just, we talked to death about it. It came out, it feels like these games will be where Game Pass lives. And even still, then you had people being like, well, maybe they can still come to PlayStation. Well, Starfield might come to PlayStation after a year, possibly, because they need PlayStation customers. No, Xbox doesn't need PlayStation customers. Like, the only way you'll play those games is if, Game Pass comes to PlayStation. So will it? I don't really know. But here we are again, confirming Elder Scrolls exclusivity, whatever. Like, I'm sure this will get worse as we get closer to Starfield launch, where people will be like, wow, Starfield looks really good. That's coming to PlayStation, right? And then you're going to have to say, no, it's not. It's actually Xbox. What do you mean? It's only... Like, the exclusivity discussion, I'm sick of. I don't know if you're sick of, Jez. I'm sick of talking about it. Are you? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if Microsoft could just come out and explain in plain terms what is and what isn't going to be exclusive. Because some games aren't going to be exclusive. Like if they're doing expansion for Fallout 76, if it's a huge expansion, whatever, that's not going to be exclusive. We're gonna see Fallout 76 still going to be supported on PlayStation. Elder Scrolls Online still going to be supported on PlayStation. So and whatever game, maybe there's a game in development we don't even know that's under contract to come to PlayStation, and some kind of contract that they couldn't get out of. Maybe that could come to PlayStation, and maybe that could give us an overview, a transparent overview of what is and what isn't coming, so people would stop talking about it. But it's probably beneficial in a marketing way to sort of be a little bit coy about it. Be sort of like, yeah, maybe it'll come, maybe it won't, maybe, and do it on a case-by-case basis, because it keeps Xbox in the conversation. It keeps people guessing. It keeps people thinking, man, maybe I really should pay attention to this whole Xbox thing if, I'm not going to be able to get my Bethesda fix. Fallout 5 is not coming to PlayStation, and I'm the biggest Fallout fan in the world, that's the reality that it's going to be for a lot of people who've, resigned themselves to one platform for whatever reason. And I do think there is, a chance that, some games could still come to PlayStation, like I say, but the vast majority of these single player games, they're going to be for Game Pass. They are Game Pass games for Game Pass. And if a platform doesn't have Xbox Game Pass, it's not getting these games. It's going to be on Android, it's going to be on iOS, it's going to be on your PlayStation web browser potentially, but it's not going to be native, because this is all about Game Pass. And you don't drive Game Pass sales by selling games at retail on PlayStation platform. That's not how you do it. So, that's the reality of that whole discussion, and let's never talk about it again.
I do wonder with Forza Horizon 5 hitting 10 million in a week, how many new subscribers that drove for Game Pass.
Yeah, I think Game Pass is going to be a big deal this year. If I was Microsoft, I'd be looking to do some kind of, I don't know, some kind of holiday gift deal or something for Game Pass. Like, give the gift of Game Pass to this Christmas, and it's like, you get like a little box with a little golden ticket in it, and it's your special pass to Game Pass. Because I saw a tweet the other day, and it was really interesting that it was like in the era of DVDs and CDs and physical games basically being dead, what the hell do you buy people for Christmas anymore? What do you buy people? Everyone wants to be digital now. Like, I think like Microsoft could like make gifting Game Pass fun somehow. But they probably should have thought about that a few months ago. It's probably a bit late now.
Yeah, it's probably a bit late.
Yeah. I'll give the gift of Game Pass this Christmas to people, probably. But
you're also going to give the gift of Manscaped.
Manscaped. 20% off with the code XB2.
That's right.
With Xbox 2
Hargit Chenny becomes the newest member of the channel. Appreciate the support. Enjoy the emotes and all that good stuff. DI Almighty Spartan God has been a member for 16 months. Appreciate you, brother. Hope you're having a good one. Dean Brown says, to me, legacy games only ever meant Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76 from the moment Phil said that. Indiana Jones, the only possible exception I can see. And I agree with that. I don't know about Indiana Jones. There's some rumors going around that it's exclusive. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Don't really know. Hargit also says, did Forza and Halo finally prove that Xbox Microsoft don't need PlayStation? Why does this keep on coming up? It sounds like some media are salty. I think they're just like, well, it's not fair to remove the Bethesda games from PlayStation. You spent all that money. You need to get the money back, so you have to sell the games on there, but that's not what they're going to do. So it's about growing Game Pass and getting people in the Xbox ecosystem, and you don't do that by putting your games on PlayStation, unless PlayStation allows Game Pass, so you can grow it there. But that's probably not going to happen, if ever, right? Yeah. And Face says, what's your thoughts on Rockstar's apology for the GTA trilogy? Yeah, so I saw that happen today, Jez. What did you think about that? Them apologizing for the state of Grand Theft Auto trilogy or whatever.
I thought it was pretty cringe because they don't care. they say they do care and that GTA is special to them. They don't care. I don't think they care anymore. I don't think I mean, the developers obviously do care, but I don't think the publishers cares at all. And it's hilarious to me because that's I can't remember his name. Is it Strauss Zelnick or something? He criticized CD Projekt Red for not giving Cyberpunk enough time in the oven. So like that whole narrative that he put out there aged very, very badly the past year. He could have delayed it. He could have put it out in a sort of a better state. He could have they could have looked into what modders had been doing with the game, and modders have been doing a really great job of remastering and upgrading the PC versions of the game. But they removed those versions of the game from access on the stupid Rockstar launcher, which literally nobody asked for. I don't think they care about the game. I think the publisher only cares about money. Big shock horror. And, I don't think they can fix it beyond like what it kind of is. I think that they should have treated it better, done a full blown remake, if they were going to do one at all. I think it's super lazy. It's a cash grab for the quarter because they've got nothing else. And I think Rockstar is pretty much dead without Dan Houser. I think without Dan Houser's political clout there, it's going to be a studio known for cutting corners moving forward, and they've got a lot to prove unless they want to go down the Activision rabbit hole, or should I say the sinkhole, really.
The sinkhole, I like that.
I got no faith. In a Dan Houserless Take Two, frankly. But I want to be wrong. I am someone who errs on the side of cynicism, as everyone listening to this will know.
Well, the thing about the GTA is that out of all the companies out there that could put a lot of money into a remaster for their history, right? Like Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy is super important to Rockstar's legacy. It's Rockstar. I mean, they make billions of dollars every year on shark cards for Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah. And if you wanted to celebrate your legacy, you're the one company that could spend a lot of money on the remaster, and everybody would buy the games because a lot of people have that nostalgic itch for the nostalgic itch for the trilogy, right? But it definitely seems like they just Randall cheaped it, right? They Randall cheaped it. They were like, well, people are gonna buy this anyways. What's the point of spending a lot of money? Here's the developer. Maybe they even pushed. Maybe it wasn't even supposed to come out the next year. Maybe they pushed it to this holiday because Grand Theft Auto 5 slipped. I don't know how much of this is on the developer they hired. I think Grove Street Games, for doing the port. Maybe they did it wrong. I don't know. Like how much is on Rockstar, but obviously people are upset, and they say the customer's always right, even if they aren't. The customer feels like bamboozled, where it's like, I spent this money, I expect a certain level of quality for a product, and I didn't get it from you. I mean, the only recourse they have is to apologize to people who bought the game, but I don't know what they're going to do to fix it. It's like, sorry, we'll do better, but oh well, we got your money already, right? I don't know. They are really kind of screwing up their, because Rockstar was always that company who was just like, whatever they put out, people are going to just gobble up. But I think but after Cyberpunk, with people not seeing games on the other consoles, and now with them holding the footage of GTA Trilogy until the day before, I think people aren't going to give the ultimate that big pass anymore to Rockstar after this. So
man, I don't know what's going on with some of these big publishers lately. They just seem to have given up caring. In some ways, it really does feel like that, and it's weird to say or even think about. But do none of them care anymore? Have they all just stopped caring? I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words. There was a time where Blizzard could do no wrong. There was a time where Call of Duty was always seen year in year out as the cutting edge, and now even Call of Duty's seeing its sales decline. Even people are waking up to the fact that even Call of Duty is a cut and paste job every year in, year out. If you look at Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and then look straight at Vanguard, hard to tell the difference. It really is. The UI is all the same, cut and pasted, stuff like that. And do they just not care anymore? Have some pride in your work, for God's sake.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like it's scary. It's scary to me that it's indies who seem to put out the most polished games now. What the hell? Like indies, like these smaller companies who don't have access to massive QA departments and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones who seem to be putting out the most polished games nowadays.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think some of it has to do with the ideology of put the game out, we can fix it later. We can patch it later. Whereas before, during previous generations and even up to like the 360, early Xbox One, like what you put out, mattered. Where now, like you Vanguard comes out or Battlefield comes out and it's broken or whatever. It's like, oh, we just need to get the game out and we can fix it. And we've seen examples of games come out that like weren't great, but through time became really good. And I think that does factor into a lot of this. Like some people are like, we'll just need the game out and we'll fix it later. And some people fix it and some people don't,
I think like there probably needs to be some kind of government regulation here, because it seems to, if that is the case, if that's the play now, put out a half-finished product and then fix it later, and then the customer doesn't know what their intentions are. I think that's misleading and probably needs some kind of government intervention. I other companies wouldn't be able to get away with that. Like if Apple put out a laptop or a phone and were like, oh, we're gonna add the Wi-Fi capabilities later, but then like not reveal it until after the fact, or play it down or something. I don't know. It's kind of misleading, and designing products with that mindset sucks. And but hopefully, the backlash starts to make them think differently. Take-Two's stock is down today. Activision stock is plummeted for a variety of reasons, but let's not forget that Activision has nuked their goodwill with gamers for games like Warcraft 3, which are unfinished and are still unfinished, and World of Warcraft, which is on its last legs, running on fumes basically at this point because of the budget cuts they've leveraged at these games, and people are starting to sit up and pay attention. Like when I look at what Final Fantasy 14. Well, look at what Final Fantasy 14 is doing, what their dev team is doing for Final Fantasy 14, and compare that to World of Warcraft. There's no difference, and these are games that cost the same amount of money. It's like you can just see which company has more money flowing into it, or reinvestment in the fans and stuff. But luckily, it looks like the audiences are starting to wake up and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to get COD this year. I'm not going to get FIFA this year. I'm going to stop subscribing to World of Warcraft and all that kind of stuff. It does seem to be that quality has become a big issue more recently, and hopefully something changes in the future. But will it really? I don't know.
Hunter Smith says, legit, our Discord chats voice lobbies always turn into a Game Pass ad since everything we play together is in Game Pass. Maybe that's exactly what Microsoft wanted. Hunter also says, imagine a GTA clone from a third Playground Games team that utilizes the Forza driving tech with the third-person adventure gameplay learned from Fable. Now that could be interesting. Maybe Playground Games could make the GTA killer, huh?
That'd be interesting. I am super curious, like what Playground Games at first, like sort of third-person action games going to look like Fable.
Yeah, what is Fable going to look like? I'm super interested.
I'm curious. How's it going to feel? Like, how's the combat going to feel? Is it going to feel polished, or is it going to feel kind of janky like State of Decay was? Like I love State of Decay, but you got to admit, even if you love a game like State of Decay, that there's an aspect of jank to it. I don't know.
Yeah. El Paul says, Mr. RDX says something weird is going on with Take-Two. I find this heinous. Any thoughts, gentlemen? I mean, I don't know. Do you have any insight into Take-Two, Jez? I know there's rumors that Xbox was looking into them, but like, I think Xbox looks into everybody, honestly.
I had heard that Take-Two was looking for a buyer last year. I heard this. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that's still the case, and if that is factoring into them just sort of not being too arsed lately. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's what it's all about, really. I
Yeah,
don't know.
who knows?
But don't know for sure yet.
Maybe Tencent will acquire a minority stake in it.
Oh
Um,
god.
and Scott says his Halo Edition Series X doesn't work. I mean, that's awful. Hopefully, Microsoft will replace that for you. Imagine buying get the Halo, $550. You'll plug it in, it doesn't work. So they'll definitely fix it for you. But yeah, what else did Phil talk about? Legal emulation. He wants the industry to support that, which is super awesome. He basically also said NFTs are more about exploitive than about entertainment. And we've talked recently on the podcast about how it seems Ubisoft and EA are all NFTs are the future, but we don't really know how. And here's Phil being like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But the big thing I want to talk to you about was Game Pass, because you've had this conversation on Twitter. You know, you've talked to other people on the other side of this fence that said Game Pass isn't making them any money, they're burning money. You're like, no, I know that it's sustainable, that they're, blah, 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 blah. And here's Phil basically coming out and saying that it's sustainable. So I'll read his quote. He says, I mean, you could do the math on Game Pass. I guess you don't know how many subscribers we have or how much each subscriber is paying, but you can make some fairly informed decisions and literally just do the math on what we think Game Pass could eventually be. You can do that on any part of the business. But absolutely, Game Pass is sustainable. It's not the only thing that's growing in Xbox. It's not the only focus of the organization, and it, as a standalone thing, is very sustainable as it sits today. It's sustainable. I know there are a lot of people that like to write that we're burning cash right now for some future pot of gold at the end. No. Game Pass is very, very sustainable right now as it sits, and it continues to grow. So, any thoughts on this, Jez? On basically Phil telling all these people that it's not sustainable, all the concern trolls basically throwing it in their faces and be like, nah, you don't know shit.
It's funny because the information that I had about Game Pass basically directly echoes what Phil said. It's like that, do the math and stuff like this. It is making money and it is sustainable, and they're growing it in a very sort of. They could throw tons of money at this, marketing it to hell, ads plastered all over the place. They could do a blanket marketing approach, and you see mobile games do this a lot, where they'll just take. Look at Raid Shadow Legends, for God's sake. Raid Shadow Legends is an example of a blanket marketing campaign where you literally can't get away from it. Every YouTuber is talking about Raid bloody Shadow Legends. Every single one. And it's because they're sinking $1 million, bajillion, $1 trillion into marketing that thing, right? Microsoft could easily go ahead and do that. The reason they're not is because they want to grow Game Pass in a sort of sustainable way, and they take this approach with a lot of their businesses, like Surface too. Like Surface marketing is not, the most insane marketing I've ever seen. They try to grow it sort of organically, where it sort of earns its place via word of mouth to some degree. You do see some Surface marketing, very sort of basic surface level kind of stuff, but they don't go all out marketing service, and they don't go all out marketing Game Pass. They really could. But the fact they're not says to me that they're trying to grow it more sustainably through word of mouth and stuff like that. They are gradually ramping up the marketing. But this is the thing about organic growth. It's as Game Pass grows, you will start to see more marketing. You will start to see more of these deals like Outriders that we got this year. We'll start to see just the service grow in quality as they sort of grow it organically, because Microsoft didn't become the most, the highest value company in the world by, just blowing all their money away. They have done that in the past. We've seen Windows Phone get blown up. And we've seen them spend billions of dollars on Bing, and it took 10 years or more for Bing to become profitable. But that's not Satya Nadella's approach. It hasn't been since he joined the company. Really, they haven't really took an approach yet. While Satya Nadella's been at the helm, where they've been let's just throw money at this until people accept it. They haven't done that at all so far, and they haven't done it with Game Pass either. So all the deals we've seen for Game Pass and stuff, all that indicates to me that they've it's all been as a result of the growth of Game Pass. It's not Microsoft throwing money into it. It's not Microsoft trying to artificially grow it by throwing their wallet around. They easily could do that, but they're not. They're trying to grow it organically. So all those deals like Outriders and stuff, that was all as a result of the profits they've been having and stuff like that. Or, well, the revenue. I shouldn't say profits. And yeah, it probably isn't doing a huge amount of profits right now because they are in a growth phase or whatever. But it's definitely not losing money, as like some people love to suggest. And you see these like fanboy channels and these fanboy arguments on forums saying, "Oh, Microsoft's only doing this because they can throw all their money at it." No, it's like it's a thing people actually want. This is actually working, and it's cool to see. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think if you want to criticize Game Pass, there's better ways to go about it than the whole it doesn't make money or it isn't sustainable. Like, I know when you talk about that, you're not really being serious because you really don't have an argument, right? People will be like, well, Netflix, they're copying Netflix, but they're in debt. It's like, yeah, like that's the business model, and Netflix is no longer in debt. Like, I don't know, like, unless you're saying like Phil's lying about this, like he's very much saying that like Game Pass is sustainable as it is. And I know people will like, well, Sean Layden said that you needed 500 million subscribers to get it work and that Spotify never made any money or whatever, all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, well, Spotify also is a subscription service. Like, Xbox also sells retail games on top of everything. There's microtransactions, there's DLCs. Like, someone could subscribe to Forza, Game Pass to play Forza and then spend $50 on DLC. That's not like a model that Spotify or Netflix even have. It's completely different. And that's probably the reason why it works the way it works, and it works well. I don't know. I think there's also a group of people that don't want to see it succeed, because if Game Pass succeeds, then Xbox succeeds. And they don't want Xbox succeeding, especially in a way that is completely different from PlayStation. PlayStation's succeeding in the traditional model. Xbox is like, we're going to do something completely different. It's kind of a mishmash of everything. Like, we have this wide open ecosystem where all our games are on PC. We got this, Game Pass subscription service where all our games are super cheap. We're going to have so many people play, where our competitor is also, they're going about it the old way. And if more people gravitate towards Xbox's model, that means less people might gravitate towards PlayStation's, and they see it as a threat. So They view Game Pass as a threat to their preferred platform, and it really shouldn't be a threat, or they shouldn't view it as a threat. Now, if I were to make criticisms of Game Pass, I wouldn't start with the sustainability thing. I'd be like, is the lineup that Game Pass has going to grow it into the behemoth it needs to be? Like, are people really subscribing for the Ascent and 12 minutes and the Medium and stuff like that? Is that what people want, or do people really need the big AAA games? Does Microsoft need to do more to get the Call of Duties on there, the Battlefields, like games that people want, the games that like go throughout the zeitgeist of the culture, right? And to grow it, like, those are things you could ask. Like, is Game Pass, like, is the library good enough, and stuff like that. Instead of falling back on this stupid, oh, well, it doesn't make any money. Like, how would you know? You're just some dude on Twitter. You're just some dude on YouTube. You don't know nothing. You're not a part of $1 trillion business. You're not doing their books. You're not the CFO of $1 trillion company. You're just as clueless as everybody else, right? So what would you know about any of this? Why should anybody believe you? You know what I mean? Like, and yet people do. And to me, it's like, all right, well, Satya, if Satya didn't believe in it, he would have cut the Xbox division already. He doesn't like the chaff. He gets rid of that stuff. He runs a lean, mean machine, and that's one of the reasons why Xbox or Microsoft's like valuation is as high as it is. I mean, you compare it to when Ballmer was in charge to when Satya was. Like, he has a vision, and if Xbox didn't fit what he wanted, it'd be gone. And if Game Pass and Xbox were just burning money with no sight of some sort of growth, they wouldn't be investing, and they have. But like, like Phil said, the math works. They have all, they have all the economics worked out and all that stuff. So it's like I'll trust their judgment on these things rather than some Twitter warrior who is trying to defend, PlayStation and stuff like that. So, this is this.
Ballmer was great at pissing money up the wall. It's almost what he was known for, Like as much as I love Windows Phone, it was a huge money vacuum, competing with Android and iOS that is very, very established. Huge amount of engineering work, huge amount of marketing, huge amount of dev reach out trying to beg, that to pay Facebook for the Facebook app, that to pay Spotify, that to actually make the apps for some companies, to get the apps on their platform. They made their own YouTube app, for God's sake. Google blocked it. Hilarious. I like Satya Nadella definitely wouldn't entertain something that wasn't going to be doing well. And they believe in xCloud and Game Pass so much. It's now the literal way they earn their bonuses. It's their key performance indicator. It's absolutely central to the Xbox mission, and all the other stuff is like secondary. The hardware and the games, like all that secondary to how well Game Pass performs. But thankfully, you can't have Game Pass perform well if you don't have the hardware, if you don't have the marketing, if you don't have the games, because Game Pass obviously needs the games. So like Game Pass sort of anchors Xbox in the world of reality. Like if Game Pass is the way they're going to grow, they're going to have to make sure all those other things that are necessary for growth perform as well. And if they thought this was the wrong direction to go in, they wouldn't do it. That's why they killed Mixer so easily, because they were like, well, we can keep trying to plug away at Mixer and investing money into it to try and beat Twitch, but it looks like we're not seeing that organic growth. And like Mixer struggled to actually get any attention during the pandemic, which is a huge red flag. While YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch all saw growth during the pandemic when everyone was stuck at home, Mixer didn't. It didn't see any organic growth, and that is like the ultimate red flag. So if Game Pass wasn't seeing any organic growth, that would be the red flag too. But it's not. It is seeing organic growth, and I bet it's seeing a ton of organic growth on the back of this Q4. And I'm sure we'll hear about numbers soon.
Yeah, Mixer is a good point, because I thought they were going to keep that going for a while. I thought they're going to be like, if we just spend a bit more, we just keep it going, it might turn into something. But they were just like, nope, not working. We're done.
Nope.
We're pulling out. Like I said, like Satya, like if stuff not working, they're not going to support it. You need to work. And they all view like Xbox as a high potential, high growth. Like they think, there's a chance that Xbox could dominate gaming in 10 to 15 years if, the cloud and everything takes off. They're in a position to like essentially reap all the rewards, right? So yeah. The other thing that Phil talked about, as well as Jim Ryan, was they wrote internal emails basically condemning Activision and Bobby Kotick for a lot of stuff that happened recently. What are your thoughts on the whole Bobby Kotick and Phil and Jim Ryan putting pressure and evaluating their partnerships and stuff? Like, what do you think's going to go on with all that?
Well, I saw some of the emails too. I saw emails at Mike Ibarra, our old pal from Xbox. I saw the emails he sent internally at Blizzard the other day. I also heard that people were calling for Phil and Sarah Bond to reevaluate their relationship and stuff with Activision on the back of all this stuff. And, they had to address it. They had to address it because it affects a lot of people. It affects their colleagues, essentially, or the devs that used to work at Xbox, who are now, their friends and they work at Blizzard. I know a ton of people who used to work at Xbox who now work at Blizzard, and they're like, they feel trapped in this situation. They just want Blizzard to be good ultimately, and it just feels increasingly like that is not possible with Bobby Kotick running the show, because he's proven time and time again that he will protect people as long as they're making him money. He's in Epstein's black book, for God's sake. So you can tell, you can infer from, the kind of company that he used to keep, what kind of person he is. and he's that kind of person that will go after profits no matter what. You can look at just the way he handles all the games, right? Like even if you disregard all of the other stuff, if you disregard the fact that he himself is accused, let's just put that to one side for a minute. Disregard that and just look at the way he's been running all the games. You know, you can tell from the corners cut and the way he treats Call of Duty, the way he treated Guitar Hero, for God's sake. They hollowed out Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was massive, absolutely massive franchise, but they oversaturated it. They released a Guitar Hero like every bloody year, like they did with Call of Duty, and everyone got sick of it. They over monetized it to the point where like people were just like, man, I don't want to spend money on this stuff. And yeah, there were other complications, but there was a time where Guitar Hero was just massive, and Skylanders too. Like they did that to death, and they completely overdid it. And instead of focusing on quality, they just sort of what they do is they get as much as they can out of it, almost like asset stripping, and then they just park it and give up. And they did that with a bunch of their franchises, and now I'm scared they're doing it with World of Warcraft, and they're sort of like they're doing the bare minimum with World of Warcraft, where it's like they can still trick people into spending money while spending the least amount of money possible, to the point where we're going to get a situation where eventually it just dies, and then we'll never hear from the Warcraft IP again because they decide, yeah, we've made as much money as we can out of this, let's get rid of it before we start losing money. That's how Activision plays, right? And because of that mentality, like money at all costs, you can sort of see how like he would let people get away with the things they were getting away with. As according to the Wall Street Journal, he stopped people from being fired after they were proven to be harassers by Activision's own investigations. Activision's own HR department recommended some certain people should be fired, and Kotick intervened because he knew it would hurt the bottom line. That's all he cared about. And, you know, I think if Xbox and other companies really, really want to show that they, you know, are against this stuff and want to show that they change the industry for the better, they need to stand up and be like, make a stand and be like, yeah, we're not going to do business with Activision as long as Bobby Kotick's still there. There needs to be some sort of serious change there. And Bobby Kotick is not shown to be a person who is just not the right guy to run Blizzard right now, Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, so, I just he shouldn't be there by Activision's own investigation. Like, you know, what was it? The
Treyarch guy.
Yeah, well, I think it was like there was like zero tolerance policy for that stuff, and then he was found to broke it, but it doesn't apply to him. And you have all these employees signing these like 1,300 people that signed a petition to get him removed. But like, I guess the only ones that have come out are like 1% of the stockholders, or people that hold 1% of the stock, and Bobby Kotick is like the majority holder. So The question is like, will this do anything? Is Phil and Jim Ryan two of their Activision's biggest partners? Like that? Yeah, sure. You can write the email and be like, we don't think you've done enough, but like, is that enough? Like can Xbox and PlayStation legally just be like, you know what, we're removing Activision's games from the store until you're gone? Is that like, is that something they could do, or is that going too far? Like,
it's really hard because I often see this argument on Twitter all the time. Like, if you boycott the games, you're only hurting the devs at the end of the day because they're the ones who get laid off. And like you say, Bobby Kotick's the majority shareholder or whatever. He, you know, he's a millionaire. He doesn't care. It's not going to affect him at all. His money's like in some offshore tax haven, and it's not going to affect him at all.
But you would think the shareholders who are seeing their, you know, the stock price of the company that they're invested in just plummet, you would think they'd be like, yeah, like we need to stop this immediately. Like you need to like pick a successor, put them in place, and you need to just retire and have your golden parachute and get out. And because we need to get our value back, right? Because if this keeps on going on and the stock price keeps on dropping, I would. But it's like weird. The company's just standing by them, even though like I don't know. It's just it's crazy to see what's going on there.
That's just the thing. The fact the company's standing by him says to me, what dirt does Kotick have on them? You know.
Yeah. He knows
The
he knows
board
where
of
the dead
directors-
bodies are buried, basically.
Yeah, like if I'm sure there's a scenario where it's like Cody's thinking like if I'm gonna take everybody down with me, if they take me down, I'm gonna take all of them down. So they're standing behind him, which is really strange behavior. Like there's no company that I know of that wouldn't have ousted him by now. There's something really, really strange going on here, I think. And it's just funny, like how much stuff seems to have come out of the woodwork since journalists like Jason Schreier and stuff, and the Wall Street Journal, since they've started really looking into Activision and what they're about and what they've been doing. They've been finding all kinds of things hidden in the woodwork. And God, I bet there's a ton of stuff that like we don't even know about that could come out as a result of this, you know. And the board of directors probably knows that, and they're probably complicit. The fact they won't get rid of Bobby Kotick implies complicity, in my view. But you know, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. I just care about the devs and them getting, you know, the treatment they deserve, because Blizzard have had a horrible few years. They've seen their user base shrink year over year for the last 3 years, I think, off the top of my head. They've seen their user base shrink. They've had like a load of really bad launches. Like Diablo 2 is like the only one that really did well. Like they've had 2 expansions that were poorly received by players for World of Warcraft. They had Warcraft 3, which is like the most legendary RTS of all time. Worst remake I've ever seen in my life. Man, they've had a horrible few years. And a lot of it is because of Activision cutting corners, you know. And for their peace of mind, it's really funny. I saw a meme the other day, Rand.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a meme where the director of CD Projekt Red, like a few years ago, he said, "My goal for CD Projekt Red is to be as legendary as Rockstar and Blizzard."
Jeez.
And now look at CD Projekt Red, Rockstar, and Blizzard. Look where they are in this year. You would never have expected it. It's crazy.
No, you definitely never would have expected it. So, you know, I think that's a good spot to end the show. But as always, we'll take some questions before we head on out. So if you guys are enjoying the show, if you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if it was your first time. Me and Jez would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, and I know Jez will have this up probably tomorrow morning on all the podcast apps, Spotify, Google Play. What else are we on? Apple Podcasts. We're pretty much on everything, right?
Yeah, we're on everything. Apple Podcasts, any podcast app, just search Xbox 2 Podcasts, you should find it. And
Yes.
you know, as if you want smoother balls, XB2 on manscaped.com, get smoother balls, baby.
Yeah. There was also an article that came out today that Platinum has apologized to Xbox for Scalebound. Did you see this? Kamiya has apologized.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that he'd need to apologize for that.
Well, did you
I
see
feel
what
bad for him.
Did you see what he said?
Yeah, I did. I read it.
He was basically said like they were working on Unreal, which they never used before, and
Well, here's the thing, Rand.
well, here's
that's him being really humble, because I've heard that Unreal was forced on them by someone who's no longer at Microsoft. So I feel bad for Kamiya saying that they were using Unreal, because I'd heard they'd had Unreal forced on them by someone at Xbox Publishing who's no longer there anymore, and they were completely unfamiliar with it, and it was apparent they were completely unfamiliar with it, but still they plowed ahead with, yeah, this needs to be Unreal, whatever. So I felt bad for him reading that, knowing that I'd at least, you know, that I've heard that Microsoft had mandated Unreal. So maybe it was just like they'd agreed to it because he says in the piece that they wanted to be, you know, more graphically impressive than their in-house engine or whatever.
Well, here's what he said was wrong. He says, "We were working in an environment we weren't used to. We were developing on the Unreal Engine. We also lacked this necessary how to build a game based on online features. The hurdles we had to overcome were very big. We weren't experienced enough and couldn't get over that wall, leading to what happened in the end. I'm sorry to the players who look forward to it, and moreover, I'm sorry to Microsoft, who had placed their trust in us as a business partner. I want to apologize both as a creator and as a member of Platinum Games." So
that makes me sad. I'm sad. Bring Scalebound back.
Let's start
a petition, guys. Let's type
Bring Scalebound back.
brings
Yeah.
hashtag bring
We'll forever get questions about it on the podcast. Chinek Guy says, still want to know when Xbox Series consoles start to use those unused features they have, also known as velocity architecture. Yeah, I mean,
Isn't it being used?
I
Is it not being
don't
used?
think it's being used right now. I could be wrong. I don't know much on the tech side. But yeah, the whole RDNA 2 feature set and all that stuff that Microsoft, puffed their chest out and beat their chest. Maybe we'll see that next year or year after. Who knows? But yeah, let me take a look at see. We got some questions here to answer. Another long show, Jez. We're over 3 hours and 15 minutes already. People love it.
Wow.
Let's see. Bledsoe says, Jez, back in the spring, you and Miles were teasing a new spin-off game. Is that still a thing?
Spin-off game.
Like an Xbox spin-off game of an IP or whatever.
Yes, but I don't think it's going to be a franchise you expect. Basically,
Okay.
put it that way.
Okay.
Like if you're expecting like a Halo spin-off or something, you might want to temper your expectations a bit. But fans of this franchise will be pretty excited about it.
I think
it's still coming.
We've talked about this before, and I think you've said this in other places, but you do expect 343 to make another game that's not Halo Infinite, right?
No, I didn't. I haven't heard that, but I have heard they've got another project they're working on right now.
Okay.
That isn't Halo.
Halo.
You mean that isn't Halo Infinite?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant that isn't Halo.
No, that isn't Halo Infinite.
Yeah, they are working on another project that isn't Halo Infinite. I know that much.
Okay. That's definitely going to be written up in some article soon. Stodgy Caesar says, does Starfield get snubbed next year? Yes or no? I don't know.
Awesome. No.
Well, see, you have Elden. Like, I can already look at Elden Ring is going to be nominated. God of War is going to be nominated. I would imagine Horizon Zero Dawn will be nominated as well. Like, I think you have at least 3 shoo-ins for sure. Breath of the Wild 2 will be nominated if it comes out next year. That's up in the air. Who knows? So I think you have 3 for sure getting nominated. So that leaves 3 other games. I think Starfield, it really depends on how good it is and like how early people have that to review. Because as we've talked about Forza, there's some question about when people were playing it and, if they knew they could update their ballots. Is the same thing going to befall Starfield? That's the question. I kind of think, I'm of the opinion, I think they're going to nail Starfield. I think Todd Howard, BGS, they want to prove to the world that Fallout 76 was a fluke. And that some of the recent projects, that people weren't a fan of, like, we are going back to core BGS. This is what made us popular. This is what we're doing. Starfield's going to blow your mind. So I kind of feel like Starfield will be nominated. But with that release date and if Keighley doesn't change anything, then I don't know, man. I'm going to say yes, though. What do you think, Jez? If you had to bet now, yes or no?
If I had to bet now, I'd say yes. I've got like they were in an interview recently, and they were talking about how single player is our DNA, and Xbox gives us the opportunity to go back to that. It's like I always theorized that where Bethesda had that sort of crappy few years, they were trying to see if they could function as a games as a service company, but it's just not in them. It's just not in their DNA. So I think they're going to nail it because they've been able to make the game they want to make, fully single player, RPG, creation engine, what they're known for and what they're good at, So, and they've been working on it for a million years, so I've got pretty high hopes for it. I think it'll be nominated.
KL says, Rand, can Jez write an article about the bots on the Microsoft Store and how Microsoft haven't implemented a protective measure against the scalpers? Last night, the Halo Series X were gone in 60 seconds. Is that something you're interested in writing about?
Is that necessarily bots, or is it just 100,000 people all with the same idea trying to get a console? I'd need to confirm that there is actually bot activity on the store, but that's something that's hard to confirm, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sucks either way, that there's not enough stock, but that's just the time we live in, sadly.
Yeah, and I think that's all the questions I see in chat. So That's going to be the end of the show. We appreciate everyone being here on Friday. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Play some Halo Infinite multiplayer or maybe Battlefield if that's more your speed. Sparhawk wants to know if either Starfield or God of War will get delayed again. I don't think so. I think they're both going to launch next year, although I guess who knows with COVID and everything going on, but I would imagine both come out. Sherman Jacobs wants to know, does Forza Motorsport get nominated in the VGAs? No. If Forza Horizon couldn't get nominated for Game of the Year, then Forza Motorsport is not going to get nominated for Game of the Year. It'll probably get nominated for Racer of the Year, but not Game of the Year. Straight Duval says, Rand, do you think the Halo campaign could have released early? Yeah, I guess that's the question, Jez. Could they have released the Halo? Could they have released Halo on the 15th? Because we had the preview on before that, and the multiplayer released. Like, do you think it was possible to release everything on the 15th, or were they still working? I mean, because they said they just went gold today. So I would imagine no. Then I don't know.
I think they could have done. Based on what I've experienced, I think they could have done, but then you'd have a lot of pissed off retailers. Because, like, for retail thing, they were able to do it the multiplayer because the multiplayer is not coming to retail, right?
True.
The campaign is going to be a retail game, and retail is really complicated and messy and all that kind of stuff. So I think it would have been, because of the retail stuff, it would have been problematic. But I think if retail wasn't a factor, I think, to me, it felt polished enough to have launched. But maybe there's like a little few bugs here and there they want to fix up, and maybe there's, more stuff they want to implement that isn't in the preview build. I don't know, but what I played felt polished and complete, frankly.
Yeah. Raiden Blaze says, Rand, I believe that all Xbox studios, old and new, will be working on more than one project at a time. Playground has Fable and Forza. What do you think? Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. I think the majority, I don't think Compulsion's working on 2 games. I don't know if you agree with that, Jez.
Oh,
what?
Actually.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Codename Velvet is actually a Compulsion thing.
Uh-oh.
But I've heard that's very early in development.
Okay.
So basically, they're already looking what comes after.
Yes.
Midnight.
Okay.
They're already looking about that.
But they wouldn't be working
in development. No, probably.
But it's not. But it's not like Obsidian, who's working on like 4 games at once, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not Playground, who's working on 2. I think most studio. How many is NXL working on? Are they just working on Project Cobalt, or do they have something else?
Yeah, I think NXL is all in on Cobalt right now. I think they're trying to make their magnum opus. They, after they've finished all their obligations to Deep Silver. Wasteland 3 is a Deep Silver published game. They had contracted for 2 DLC. They've made those now, and now the entire studio is ramped up, and they're all working on Cobalt, which it looks like it's going to be a sort of FPS RPG in the vein of The Outer Worlds, maybe, but with an Exile's very unique sense of humor. It's really funny. It's like, a lot of Xbox studios have like a unique sense of humor. Like, Obsidian has a sense of humor it's quite political in a way, ironic and sarcastic. And then like you got Rare's sense of humor, which is quite silly and cute and lighthearted and maybe a bit rude at times. And then you've got In Exile. In Exile's sense of humor is dirty and naughty, a bit filthy. In Exile's sense of humor makes you blush. Some of the stuff, you haven't played Wasteland 3, man, but some of the quests in Wasteland 3 are so screwed up. It really makes me think, like, if I ever meet the writer, I've got questions for these people. But yeah, that's In Exile. It's fun because their games have like such different tones to them. And
yeah. Nick Tubby says, will they acquire Skybox? They have worked exclusively with Microsoft for a decade. I mean, I guess your guess is as good as mine on that one. Mauler X wants.
Make? Are they like support studio?
I think they're a support. Yeah. Mauler X says, if all 20 million Game Pass subscribers did the 3-year gold conversion, that's 181 million upfront, which totals 3.6 billion, enough to sustain them for years. And Three Adir says, you say Starfield would not be eligible for Game of the Year because it releases on November 11th, but Fallout 4 got nominated for Game of the Year and it released on November 10th. I'm not saying that it won't.
The nomination windows have changed slightly year to year. So, and after all the drama that I caused with my
the Forza stuff.
After all the drama I caused with my not very particularly well thought out article, they might even revise it further, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But who knows?
And shout out to Pong Soul, who says he appreciates us both, brothers. Thank you for the Friday awesomeness during work. And thank you, Pong, for always tweeting out the show, giving the 10-minute countdown. And I hope to be in a podcast with you soon, brother. It's been a while. Pong Soul is always, he's a big member of the community. And he's always on like every podcast. And he's here 3 hours in, 3 hours, 20 minutes in. Listening to the show still. He says he knows my tell. He knows when I'm actually like saying something that I know and is not like just a random guess. Like he knows it. So, Pong Soul's awesome. So I appreciate everyone being here, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Play some more Halo Infinite, and we'll be back next week, hopefully on Friday, to talk more about what's going on in the video game industry. Hopefully we'll have some stuff to talk about Xbox, and who knows what's going to happen. Maybe we get Halo player numbers. I don't know. But either way, have a great weekend and keep it gaming.